don't know when knight b6 looks tempting, or knight e7. And then basically I might have d4 as a target. What do you think about this psychology?
I mean, it's good, but I'm not so sure how easy it is to play knight d5, knight d7 here. Because Magnus is trying to play c4 himself, and what you're essentially saying is that, um, just for context, chat, the first best move is of course what Tikubai suggested, knight d5. If I gave you, like, let's say, five guesses, I don't think you would be able to tell without looking. I don't think you would be able to tell me what the second best move is, because it is so ridiculous. I'm just gonna wait like 5 seconds for people to just like do a bunch of guesses. Tikubai, do you want to take a guess as well? You
Rook
can also
h8.
just
Rook
rook h. So
h8 is
that's
the...
not the move. That's not the move. So I'll tell you guys. So I think enough time has passed. People would have guessed the move as well. Knight c7. Bhai, that's too normal. Yeah, these moves are looking too normal. The move is knight to g8. So it's
Okay.
like the idea is the same, because अगर आप c4 खेलते हो तो 97 and you get the exact same situation. How this is so difficult, no?
Okay, because even my idea of playing knight d5, my first thought was to play knight b6, not even knight e7, because I want to attack c4 and then even force b3 somehow, and I thought that would be beneficial. Maybe it's not actually, the engineers like it, but why is the knight better placed on e7? Like, why is that a better square for the knight? Is it because the bishop now is unblocked? Is that the reason?
Yeah, 97, 95. Yeah, I think
मैं महंगा ले लूं, I always, like, they stop working for me within couple of 3-4 months. Always. So I go for the cheapest option. So मेरा तो ये है भाई, M186, very cheap, under 1000.
yeah.
Which whenever it gets spoiled, I buy a new one, and I don't regret it
So
basically. So for me, this
I
is the
got
answer, bhai.
I was using, I think, MX Anywhere from Logitech for like a very long time. It's not really like an expensive one, but then recently I switched my mouse to like a really good one. This is
कितना टाइम हो गया बॉस
L.
को?
ये वाले को एक साल, but my rating also, like, it really helps. It's very easy to play with it.
Oh
Somehow I
wow.
can't explain it.
So if you're saying कि
Yeah.
if I invest in a good mouse, my rating can go up, Sahej bhai.
I think 50 points or so it can, yeah. 50
Damn.
points. Some, maybe even more. Like if you play bullet, I think it could, yeah, for sure. But I think a lot of the big mistake is that India mein na wo, like Amazon Pay, like in other like places, you get a lot of these mouses which are looking very fancy, like
Ha
Red
ha
Dragon.
ha 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 ha
Like
ha.
I don't want to say the company's name, but like, there are many places, but those mouses are great for gaming, but not
To the game for a second, we were discussing this knight g8, knight d5 concept with the plan of knight e7, but Arjun falls for the trap of exchanging pieces. Sahaj bhai, I mean, I would think maybe this was not such a huge priority here. Like, it's not like he bishop on d2 is suddenly gonna start firing, fire from his mouth or something. So bishop h6 kind of wasting a move, because हमने bishop g7 एक चाल में खेला था, and then again we have to waste two moves taking with...
for me, and I'm not sure Arjun will play bishop h6 if it wasn't Magnus.
Agreed.
Like, why your bishop, I think, is also fine, but um yeah, I mean, this is the effect we were talking about. I think Magnus is going to be very scary now. And look at the nuances in the position. Firstly, there are two good moves which are interchangeable. There is b4 and then there is h4. I think h4 probably throwing first makes more sense to me, because then in the some near future you can put your knight on g5, put pressure here, and it's kind of like an outpost. अगर आप f6 खेल के knight को kick करते हो तो e6 का square मुझे मिल सकता है, g6 का pawn आपका weak हो सकता है, and subsequently आपका h5 का pawn भी weak हो सकता है, which is just another problem. I feel with his last move, Arjun, he has given Magnus the freedom to continue this game forever.
Agreed. Absolutely agree, Sahaj bhai. You summed it up well. I feel like, this is like the dream scenario for Magnus, जो हम बात कर रहे थे about, Magnus just squeezing water out of a stone. I can tell you he's licking his lips right now. He's excited about the position. This is the best chance he's had. And again, like, if you go back a move, Sahaj bhai, the bishop just came to g7, like 3 moves back. Arjun
Yeah.
could have really changed the move order and brought the bishop directly to h6, but he went bishop g7, then he played h5, and then he played bishop h6. So to me, it makes no sense apart
I mean,
from Magnus effect in real time. And after this exchange, like the bishop on, okay, Magnus also played bishop d2, but
yeah,
I feel like
exactly that. it's not that he wasted a move. Magnus also played bishop d2 and bishop. I mean, in essence, it's the same, but just I think the idea of it
Also the rook, na.
feels.
Like the rook
Yeah.
has to
Also,
now
the
go
rook on
back.
h6 is
Yeah,
bad. I mean, it's just the idea of it doesn't feel right. Yeah, this is not the best development so far.
agreed. And यहाँ पे I think after, okay, now for example, Chad, I think we discussed, yeah, h4, b4, and b4 to me looks very tempting, Sahaj. Why the knight on a6 rather looks stupid. Okay, let's kind of go through a normal main line. Let's say white plays b4. What do you play as black?
After b4,
Hmm.
very difficult, I think, to make moves because you also have c4 incoming. By I don't like this at all. Like knight a c7 maybe. C4 or then I have
c4.
B5. Actually, no, B5. Oh, C4 is also. Bhai, this is looking very bad.
But b5 is very bad actually because e5 square मिल जाएगा. Similar to black playing
Exactly.
d5. So
This
white
is
can just
very
push
difficult.
pawns, yeah? You know?
Yeah. I think Magnus's next few moves are quite simple in comparison. It's a simple position, but yeah, it's looking very nice. Gaming King ji बोल रहे हैं, I think knight g8 is quite logical because after c4 the pawn of e4 will be targeted, so you want the g7 bishop to look at it, and also the knight f6 is quite passive because of f3, so you want to reroute it. Bhai, matlab, I think it's great that you are able to understand and formulate your thoughts in such a nice way, but this is correct. But in a game, like, you don't know that this is correct. I've had a lot of conversations about this. Firstly, with my own mom, who used to be like, "ये तो engine पे ये खेल सकता था, तो ये क्यों नहीं खेला? ये तो मुझे भी दिख जाती." Things
हाँ.
like that. And then afterwards, I saw it with other parents as well. Like someone I'm coaching, like his parent be like, "ये तो मैं भी देख लूँगा." But it's very difficult, very nuanced. Yeah. So
I
knight
think
jet
when
is a very very weird move because it's not like, why would you put the knight to the original
yeah.
square? That's the question. आपका वो thought.
You solve the problem to some extent. So chess mein you have to make that choice, right? Okay, knight g8 to me looks like a decent move, but I have 10 other options. I have to compare it to other options. Will it come up on top? I'm not sure. But once I see the answer, I think I can justify it. Okay, it's a nice
Yeah.
move after all. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. But Magnus is definitely happy about this. And Joe, I saw a comment कि Magnus time पे पीछे है 13 minutes. In fact, now it's more. It's 16 minutes. I don't think time is a factor at all. Like अगर Magnus के पास यहाँ 5 minutes होते ना, if he had increment, I think he can just play 5-6 moves very quickly and he can still put a lot of pressure. I don't think time is a factor for either player actually. So I think this is just Magnus versus Arjun in raw form in a position which Magnus पूरे style में बैठती है क्योंकि it's right in his alley. This is what he wanted actually. And look at this. Best move played. Arjun under slight pressure now.
That's an understatement, भाई. अर्जुन इन big pressure. वो उसको FNH पॉन्स वाला भी गेम याद आ रहा होगा भाई. FNH पॉन्स तो यहाँ पर भी हैं, रुक्स तो यहाँ पर भी हैं. Is it round two? But we'll see. Of course,
Chad.
early days for that. But by the way, Tiku bhai, after knight c7, b5 straight is gayo.
Wow. Okay, Magnus will not clearly take and take Saj by. So maybe he will just Arjun will just just maybe just take.
टेक बेस्ट ही लग रहा है भाई. टेक फिर थोड़ा वेट करो, फिर उसके बाद
हाँ
तीसरा वाला.
हाँ. But okay, b5 is quite interesting actually. I love that move because आपने a pawn को भी कहीं ना कहीं रोक दिया and you always have c4 in the air to support that pawn and it's so
Also, this
tempting,
rook on
right?
h8, h6 is so annoying now because you b1, you cannot challenge me on the
Yeah.
b8 square because ये rook यहाँ पे बैठा हुआ है. तो ये it's a very bad square and you have to invest one. It's like black is already worse, but black has to invest one more move and then black is worse. So that's the sad thing about that bishop h6 move.
भाई हम लोग बात कर रहे थे अर्जुन being ahead on the clock. That's what we're talking about, right? That Arjun is 16 minutes ahead. I can guarantee matlab I'm ready to bet one chess.com membership on the line that unless the game finishes, in the next, I don't know, 5-10 moves, Arjun will be behind on the clock by a decent margin. But there's also b5 still possible from white.
भाई तब से यही तो डिस्कस कर रहे हैं भाई. b5.
हाँ, like with a
Remember
different
takes.
हाँ.
It was the same position, bhai. Takes, and
अच्छा,
then
ऐसे
rook
ही देखा था.
b1 and rook b1. Yeah,
Right.
same thing. I think Magnus has seen it. He wouldn't play b4 if he didn't see b5.
Wow.
And b5 के बाद, okay, slight pressure तो है मेरे पास. See, played immediately.
Wow, bhai, I didn't expect him to play it so quickly though. Instantly played b5, best move, and now the best move is actually rook b8, which to me does not look natural when my rook is already on h6. I want to play rook h8, Sej bhai. That's my
This is, world championship like games and stuff, usually I felt कि there is a moment जहाँ पे मैग्नस एकदम most मैग्नस वे में जीतता है. Like जैसे करियाकिन को उसने हराया था कोई तो it was some Italian with that pawn on e6. I think we were talking about it sometime as well. It was on demand game, some 60 move long game. Then against Fabi, I think the match was not over until the last round where he had like a very good position, and then okay, tie breaks में he won. Then against Nepo he had that crazy 100 move का game, 150 move का जो game था, उसके बाद he just won the match. And I feel like for we are seeing Magnus after, in classical chess after such a long time, correct? Because I think that's what he's going for. If he wins in the most Magnus way, I think Magnus even ends up with, it could be possible that he ends up with 2850 when this tournament finishes, which is ridiculous. But if Magnus doesn't win in the most Magnus way, then thoda problem aa sakta hai.
I have to agree with that. 2840 is his rating right now. And he's going to play 7 rounds here against some very, very strong players. Arjun hai, Nodirbek hai, and so on. I just want to make it clear कि भाई Magnus, आई वुड से लाइक मैंने जो कमेंट फॉर एग्जांपल आई एड वन कॉन्टेक्स्ट, जब भी कोई टूर्नामेंट अनाउंस होता है जहां मैग्नस का शक्ल भी है ग्राफिक के अंदर, द टॉप कमेंट every single time is congrats for Magnus to winning the event. Who is fighting for second place? भाई like ऐसे comments होते हैं, which is not a surprise. And I have to come back. How does he do it, Sahaj bhai? वो motivation कहाँ से आती है? Is it just because he's so good? He's so good कि without even putting all his effort, he can just pull this off every single time? Or does he consciously put that effort every single time because he knows he's the best? क्या है भाई? Is it the
It's
skill or is it
because he
also the
has worked
motivation?
the hard. He has worked the hardest, and I think he's exceptionally gifted. I think I'm from to work. I mean, we should have asked this question to Vishu sir because he's
हाँ,
been in a similar situation because he has. So you are absolutely fine. You can just chill and you can come back.
ISIS cold and Magnus Wien. ये भी comment होता है by the way. Pretty common comment in those posts. Um, he is gifted. Of course, he's gifted, but of course, he's very, very hardworking as well. Magnus has worked with Kasparov, by the way, who is arguably also the GOAT, as Magnus often says it. So, help भी काफी अच्छी मिली. And of course, सच भाई, if Magnus were to let's say a dogma से match पड़ता है यहाँ पे. Chad, I don't know if you've seen this clip जहाँ पे Kasparov plays Magnus when Magnus was 13 years old. He's a pawn down, defends the position, is very impressed. And the same day he comes, meets him, and then
Wise is financially regulated. There's no markups on exchange rates. Join millions sending money abroad with Wise app today.
Enjoy factory level prices, plus order protection for peace of mind. Download the app now and start sourcing smarter.
but next time a Dogmas and Magnus play, if a Dogmas were to genuinely impress Magnus, like we could see him even help him, like in some capacity. Do you think that's possible?
I make all the difference. And I think अगर Magnus जैसा बंदा train भी करेगा ना, तो you could technically overpower the potential because Magnus has that, right? He can right now. Right now, of course, Magnus is stronger, and I think Magnus has been the strongest player in the world. That can be too much pressure, I think, for someone. So I'm not so sure if helping is the right word. I think sparring would be, I think, phenomenal because also Yagis has Mohamed Yarov. Yeah, he was former world number 2 chat. He's the one of the only players, I think, to be 2800 from Azerbaijan.
Yes.
Okay, 780, but he passed away sadly due to an illness. So they had a lot of. I mean, also technically, Kasparov is also born in Baku, so you can also say that.
Chat. By the way, stream like Roll, let's get more people in. I think regardless of whatever has happened in the past, let's see. Dogma से बाद में आएंगे. फिलहाल Arjun battling it out. Rook h8 played. I like that move. I think अगर मुझे blitz खेलना होता, bullet खेलना होता, that's the first move I would play. Rook h8 वापस लाओ. Fixed my position, and now at least I can potentially play Rook b8 if I was challenged with the b file. Sej bhai, of course, we will not take on c6 and be cooperative. I'm guessing c4 should be like an automatic move now. Yeah, just gain more space.
Yeah, C4. I mean, I also don't see the benefit of playing C4 right now because it's still a committal move. Like maybe I will need the point. I mean, yeah, Magnus है, right? You have to think how Magnus would think. Like C4 might be the best
Tough.
move, but maybe it's too committal. I'm thinking something like H4 even, bhai. Like I'm because I know a pawn takes B5 तो नहीं मार सकते यहाँ पे. So this creates more problems for you because
This is what separates Magnus from everybody else, सहज भाई. Like ये detail, हल्की सी detail बहुत important है.
absolutely. Tico, I'll just be right back in a
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Bhai.
By the way, chat, Magnus having a sip of water, thinking about the position. बहुत crucial moment है ये, of course. He's picked up a bishop, twirling with the pieces. In fact, chat, I don't know, like before Magnus, I did not see many top players like ऐसे piece उठा के ऐसे खेलना उसके साथ मैंने देखा नहीं है. Magnus was one of the first ones for me at least. And Arjun, by the way, not even at the seat right now. Um, very interesting how this tournament will not play Magnus again. So opportunity यहीं पे है अर्जुन के पास कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग करने की. एंड बाकी जो प्लेयर्स हैं, सो 8 प्लेयर्स आर मैग्नस, अर्जुन, नोदरबेक है, डॉगमस्ट है, यन फॉरेस्ट है, निल्स है, वुडवर्ड है, जूजिनर है, एंड दीज आर द 8 प्लेयर्स. आई थिंक इसके अलावा आई एम रियली एक्साइटेड अबाउट द डॉगमस्ट मैच ऑल्सो. वो भी बहुत जल्दी आएगा. Gukesh, by the way, chat, Gukesh ka hai. Gukesh is coming up soon, by the way. He is playing by the C4 played by Magnus, one of the best moves. I think he did not want to give Arjun the option of taking on B5. Maybe he wanted to avoid that possibility and simplification. That's why just 5th of this month. So we'll stream both at the same time from 5th. दोनों stream करेंगे. And वहाँ पे सिंदारोव भी है भाई. So 3 game होंगे between Gukesh and Sindarov starting from 5th of this month. 4 दिन बाद 2 blitz के games, एक rapid game. By all bets are off. I'm going to ask you chat a prediction as Arjun thinks. What do you think will be the score line between Gukesh and Sindarov in those 3 games? So 3-0 for Gukesh, 2.5, 1.5, 2-1, 1.5 each, 1-2, half, 0-3. What will be the score line between Gukesh on the left and Sindarov on the right? Filhal Sindarov in epic form, but can he pull it off in rapid and blitz as well is the question, right?
Right. And Tikubai when is the first match starting?
I think it's on 5th, right? 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th are the 5 days. So 3 days of rapid and then
And when
2
does
days of
Sindarov
blitz.
play Gukesh?
I think one of the rapid days, we don't have the pairings out yet. So one of 5th,
okay.
6th, 7th में एक दिन and then 8th, 9th दोनों दिन खेलेगा. So it's going to be a epic.
For sure. I think that will be a nice match, yeah. Really, really looking forward to it.
And look at chat, yeah. I mean, it takes something incredible to defeat like an Indian player in polls on Indian channels, by the way. So only Magnus can do that, Sahaj bhai. And right now, Sindarov 3-0, 2.5, half, like crazy bhai. 2.5, 1 भी दिख रहा है मुझे. मतलब मैच ब्रेक कर रहे Sindarov.
अरे भाई मतलब crazy. But I feel कि अगर Sindarov is on this run and if he has, I mean he definitely has a great psychological advantage over Gukesh right now because of his insane performance, but really bad pay and then we defeated him 3-0.
क्या गुकेश को काउच लेके आना चाहिए फिर और लेट जाना चाहिए
भाई दुबोव को साइन करो. That's the first thing. Figure out what he knows.
Very interesting. Magnus will destroy Arjun here, कह रहे हैं Mr. Okay, नाम थोड़ा लंबा है. I would say कि यार definitely a possibility. I think it would not be like the surprise of the year if Magnus wins this. But Arjun, I think as we discussed, पहले भी सहज भाई has great defensive abilities, has done it against Magnus earlier in rapid chess. So he will also back himself to defend. So what is the plan, सहज भाई? Where do I put my rooks is the major question for me now because मैं rook h8 ले आया. Where do I put my A rook and where do I put my H rook? ये decision मुझे clear नहीं है अभी. So what is your take on this?
I would put it on E8 because it's the only open file, but the problem is in a position like this, no square has any like particular value. So it's unless you are calculating some 10-15 moves deep, it's going to be very difficult to realize where the rook placement is going to be the best. Optically, of course, E8 looks the best, but I'm looking at my screen right now. Rook H8 is not even top 3.
Wow.
So, in fact, the best move is,
Oh, acha. So B8 feels normal to me.
That's not the square, see? It's actually Rook H C8. I'm not even sure how you come up with a move like this because Rook H B8 also I can justify क्योंकि BC के बाद maybe the B file opens up. Rook C8 के बाद BC6 के बाद
okay.
B takes C6 के बाद
हाँ
So,
मैं
so
चौंक रह
rook
गया, sorry.
h8 is like the move which, okay, optically does not make much sense to me. Rook h8 is what I think. But okay, 19-20 का फर्क. But yeah, pressure तो है भाई. And slowly Magnus will.
Next white spawns, and without a clear plan, I would not even consider that move. So tough choice for Arjun. Rook at c8, very unlikely. सहज भाई, it feels like कि यहाँ पे अर्जुन लंबी सोच में जाने वाला है, and I have a guess in the next 2 to 3 moves he's going to be behind Magnus on the clock. Like literally 2-3 चालों में ही he'll be behind Carlsen, और Carlsen एक मिनट में चाल खेलने वाला है. He's not going to think for a long time for the next 5 moves or so.
Yeah, because the white's moves are pretty like simple. Black को थोड़ा setup करना है pieces. I think you are absolutely correct on that. I think 2-3 moves के अंदर very likely. Magnus I think is very relaxed also. He's not on the board even.
Things right now, which is such a big surprise. If Arjun were to beat Magnus, okay, it's a tough one. Drop him 8 point milega, but I think, by the way, Arjun is almost 100 points behind Magnus, right? That is crazy. But okay, if Arjun were to beat Magnus, he will straight away go to world number 8. So there's an opportunity technically, on paper, Sahaj bhai, to kind of enter the world top 10 today.
Yeah, drop in नहीं होगा I think. Drop
हाँ,
पे भी
drop in
वही
नहीं
से आगे तो नहीं जाओगे आप. But yeah, win पे possible for sure. Win पे
And
possible for sure. But yeah, yeah, we shouldn't even be discussed. But ratings only matter when the tournament finishes. और उससे पहले like not really a big difference. And okay, look at this. He
Okay.
plays knight e6.
Ooh. I like that move because आपने d4 पे थोड़ा pressure डाला, so ties my knight on e2 down a bit. If you were to push any of your pawns, like d5 पे मुझे c5 square मिल रहा है, and you know it restrains white's pawns a bit. But what if I just play rook a b1? Like, what is black's plan now?
But you can argue that when you play rook c8, now white can also play rook c1, and okay, pawn takes, but then I can capture with the a pawn and defending my c4 pawn there. So वही है, मतलब I think uncomfortable position है black के लिए. Ideally you want to gain some space, try to equalize as quickly as possible, and it's that feeling of being uncomfortable that is Magnus's advantage pretty much. If Arjun does not feel uncomfortable here, he's not worse basically.
Bhai, if there was anybody sitting apart from Magnus, Arjun would not be feeling uncomfortable. I feel like it's more to do with the person than the position. बंदा सामने जब मैग्नस बैठा, मैग्नस वेरी, यू नो, इन जनरल मैग्नस वेरी
बट
टॉल.
अर्जुन को थोड़ी ना वो फील होता होगा उतना. अर्जुन हैज डिफीटेड हिम मेनी टाइम्स. वो भी ब्लैक से 19 चाल में आ रहा है भाई उसने उसको.
But bishop f6 is a sign he felt
और
that said
also
by.
by when you save something like that, like FNH pawns against the goat of chess, I mean you also start to feel like, okay, like I'm extremely special.
No,
Like,
yeah,
so
yeah,
you,
I'm
I think वो
sure he
मैग्नस
knows
इफेक्ट
that.
अर्जुन अब तो नहीं फील करेगा I think.
But bishop h6 was the said by the, you know, the problem for me. Like that move kind of showed he was trying to force a draw somehow. That's my worry. Hopefully he now just kind of plays the best moves, but oof, this is not going to be easy. By the way, Magnus Carlsen of course will be playing Norway chess also, जहाँ पे गुकेश और प्रग से खेलेंगे. So within 1 month we're going to have Magnus play classical chess against all the top 3 Indians, Sahaj bhai.
अरे amazing. That is something we don't get to say often because Magnus इतना खेलता ही नहीं है भाई. But
Yeah.
love to see. Also would love to see like what would be the rating change. You know, we are in the first day of the month, and at the end of May, Magnus could either be 2850, or could be very close to the 2800 level, because it's a like rating deflation हुआ है of course. So the only 2800 player in the world right now is playing in front of you.
Wow. Magnus ने publicly बोला था कि I'm gonna try and chase down that 2900 goal. Like he publicly said it as his goal, but then it couldn't happen because of rating deflation. And of course, like he did come very close. I think 2889, right, was the highest live rating he had, Sahaj bhai, which was like 80 points ahead of everybody else. 2889.
No.
I mean,
It was never 80 points. I think when he was 2889, Fabi was around 2840, if I'm not mistaken, 2830, something like this.
but was
So
he
इतना
really at that point?
ना लंबा, 80 points तो नहीं था I think फर्क. That's I think a lot, but I could be wrong. Chat, do correct me if I'm wrong. बट आई थिंक मैग्नस की 2900 रैपिड में हुई है, इफ आई एम नॉट मिस्टेकन, एंड ब्लिट्स में तो 22986 हुई है उसकी, आई एम
Yeah,
प्रीटी
yeah,
श्योर.
yeah.
एंड
Yep,
फ्री स्टाइल में
yep,
भी 2900 है उसकी रेटिंग, सो ही
yep,
हैज अचीव दैट गोल बट जस्ट नॉट इन क्लासिकल चेस.
yep. It was very close. Magnus Rapid 293. Yes, exactly, exactly. Gukesh almost won Norway chess last year. I don't think so. Actually, he did defeat Magnus. He played that great game, but I think Magnus had a comfortable win in overall standings at the end. It wasn't like super close. Um, yep, only 20th player in the world. हमारे editors कह रहे हैं कि भाई crazy crazy है.
Yep. Absolutely. So now it's up to Magnus. By the way, 11-minute difference, 40 minutes for the goat of chess to play rook b1, I'm guessing, and rook hc1 are the two moves that you can consider. And if somewhere you're planning to take on c6, enter the rook via to b7, give a check, and okay, you can play on the space that you have with the white pieces. But Magnus is thinking, and this is exactly what I was talking about. Is for Stockfish knows कि best चाल रुक भी हुआ ना, it will just play it. Like Magnus has to think कि practically सबसे ज़्यादा मुश्किल क्या होगा खेलना.
हाँ.
That's what makes Magnus more dangerous.
Like rook b1 पे he knows कि Arjun is gonna put the rook on b8. So he knows कि Arjun को likely best चाल पता है. Is there something else which will make it more difficult for Arjun to find the best move, even if that move is not as strong as rook b1? So Magnus considering all options, of course, going very deep into his calculations. That's why often people ask कि grandmaster कितना deep calculate कर सकता है, and of course the answer is as deep as he wants. But is position में specifically, how deep do you think Magnus Carlsen is going in his calculations? Is he kind of trusting his intuition, or is he going very deep?
I think mostly you're trusting your intuition and you're doing like 3-4 moves of calculation. Okay, maybe not 3-4 moves भी ज़्यादा हो गया. Like मैं 2-3 मूव से ज़्यादा नहीं जाऊँगा. You do like deep calculation and maybe 1 or 2 instances where your intuition says कि यार ठीक है यहाँ पे थोड़ा और करना चाहिए, but आप हर जगह वो 10 चालें नहीं करोगे calculate. And I think this is a subject that a lot of, let's say, not elite players suffer, where they're not sure where to think more, where to think less.
Yeah, by the way,
Chat में
rook
तो
b1.
भाई सचिन भाई आप क्या saying some funny things.
मैंने पढ़ा भी नहीं, I missed it, but I think no, by the way, Magnus did play rook a b1, the best move, and I'm expecting one of the rooks to hop onto the b8 square very, very quickly. वो b file control करनी है. For example, I just played king c7 just to test it out, and apparently that's not a nice move. Gives white a slight edge after like rook at c1 or knight f4. So you have to bring one of the rooks to the b8 square, and then white can continue playing h4 and so on. So the
Yeah.
trauma is real, सहज भाई.
So
ये तो
basically
बहुत
like
लंबी गेम होगी.
तो रुक बी वन रुक बी एट तो समझ आ रहा है, कुछ स्टेक्स पे रुक बी वन रुक बी सेवन चेक नहीं है
हाँ
आपके पास. आई विल गो रुक एच सी वन, यूल गो रुक एच सी एट एज वेल. ठीक है, अब इसके
हाँ
बाद वाइट खेलता है समथिंग लाइक एच फोर. So this is basically where the problem begins, and this is probably why Arjun is thinking, and what Magnus was thinking. यहाँ पे ब्लैक क्या चलेगा, रुक आपने निकाल लिया, दोनों रुक्स निकाल दिए, नाइट्स आपके अच्छे जगह पे हैं. Now what? Like what? How do you make progress in a position like this is the question. This is where I think a lot of players will make a mistake. Will make mistakes, and you cannot capture this with either. Neither, I think.
wow.
If you capture with the rook, there's d5. If you capture with the pawn, there's rook b8 hanging.
And I was thinking, for example, instead of rook c7, like can I play a5 basically, just kind of stopping that a pawn, gaining some space. But then there is c5 apparently.
It's also a
And
very, very nice like nuance here, and which I see as well. C5, by the way, is a very strong move too, but you can also takes and play a5 bhai. That's very good, like gaining more
oh, you're
space.
right. You're right. You're right. Maybe I can just play c5. Like that's the only way. Yeah? Otherwise, rook b6 c5 आ गया तो will be very tough. But after a5, white can just play c5 apparently. And if you take, knight takes, pawn takes, and rook endgame one knight on the board. But somehow this is a lot of pressure. Yeah. Any endgame looks worse. And rook यहाँ पे कर क्या रहे हैं c8 पे now? Like I'm a bit king d7 पे completely open on the d file as well. So Magnus निकालेगा भाई यहाँ पे कुछ ना कुछ गेम में.
Yeah, for sure. But Magnus का time मतलब ठीक है, 11 मिनट का डिफरेंस, सॉरी 10 मिनट का डिफरेंस, I mean is not that bad. दैट्स एक्चुअली वर्क्स इन अर्जुन्स फेवर, बट 40 मूव्स के बाद आधा घंटा मिलेगा, राइट?
Hmm.
So we are on
Yes.
move 21, so 19 more moves to be played in under 40 minutes. I think Magnus is fine. Magnus is not. Also 30 seconds का increment भी यहाँ पे, so I think he's fine.
And great point by Mr. Tech Kunji. बिल्कुल 97.8 accuracy मैग्नस की, 97.8 अर्जुन की, neck to neck चल रहा है. But even then, white is slightly better. That tells you Magnus utilizing the advantage of the white pieces to its maximum. And कोई पूछ रहा है, who is the next chess prodigy from Norway? हितेश भाई पूछ रहे हैं. Sahej bhai, that's a very good question. I think we discussed this earlier once. कि विशी सर के आते ही we saw so many prodigies. In fact, Gokesh, Parag, Vaishali, all these youngsters attended the Magnus Vichy World Championship in Chennai. We have not seen like a prodigy out from Norway. Like, do you know of any names like that might be big names in the future from Norway?
Um,
No,
I'm
like there's
trying
no
to
name that comes
think.
to mind, I think.
I'm sure there is. I think there's Alham, if I'm not mistaken. There is someone, but not like Magnus level yet. I'm sure there is someone though. I'm gonna try to take a
Arenpal is
look.
older. I don't think he would be counted as a youngster. Like
हाँ,
Haaland
Elham
तो
is
नहीं है.
like Elham is 2005 born, no? Like 2576, 2007 born. I mean,
But okay, it's still
ठीक है.
like
That's I think very good, no?
मार्टिन ओडगार्ड कह रहे हैं कार्तिक जी.
There is Hog Havard as well, who's 2010 born and he's 2000 and he's 2400. I mean,
But
there are
still,
players, but भाई मतलब मैग्नस लेवल के प्लेयर्स या वो जो प्रोडिजी होता है वो मतलब लाखों में से एक निकलता है. तो लाइक you need to give it time.
हाँ, ट्रू ट्रू.
करोड़ों में से मैग्नस तो खैर करोड़ों में से एक, बट लेकिन बाकी जो प्रोडिजीज कह रहे वो भी लाखों में से एक निकलती है.
वही कह रहा है next prodigy will be Magnus's son. I'm not sure about that one. Um, but yeah, okay, Magnus chilling by the way, having his coffee. रुके B1 के बाद Arjun under pressure, time difference down to now just what like 6 minutes actually. So time difference कम होता हुआ as we expected.
भाई जो लोग ओल्डेगार्ड कह रहे हैं, मैं हॉग हवार्ड की बात कर रहा था, ओल्डेगार्ड की बात नहीं कर रहा था भाई. ही इज़ रैंक 247 240 समथिंग 2432 ही इज़ एंड इज़ रैंक 20th in Norway right now. 2010 born. That's I think pretty good.
कोई कह रहा है सारी टिकू is the oldest prodigy. Prodigy. Yes, the 33-year-old prodigy. What will I do when I grow up? Let's figure it out. Meanwhile, Sahej bhai.
ऑल्सो भाई
Okay.
आई थिंक किसी को ना प्रोडिजी बनने के लिए जो टॉप का प्लेयर रहता है ना वो एक्टिव नहीं होना चाहिए, बिकॉज नहीं तो उनके ऑरा में ही रहते हो आप सारा टाइम. लाइक आप सोचो जो भी नए प्लेयर्स आते हैं, जैसे टर्की से अभी एक क्यों मतलब एक एर्दोमस जैसा टैलेंट में भी होगा, बट लेकिन वो जगह किसी ने अभी तक ली नहीं है, एटलीस्ट टर्की में. तो देन न्यूअर प्लेयर्स आर अलाउड टू डेवलप इन दैट. जब तक मैग्नस
Also,
खेल
like,
रहा है भाई बहुत मुश्किल है. मैग्नस
I,
यू हैव टू बी लकी के कोई प्रोडिजी हो 13-14 साल का जो 2300-2400 की रेटिंग में, और उसी टाइम पे मैग्नस रिटायर करे और वो मैग्नस उसको टेकअप करे, एंड देन
हाँ,
दैट वुड बी आइडियल. लाइक
that's
दैट
a
किड इज गोना गो वेरी हाई.
very good point because when Vichy Magnus World Championship happened in India, these guys were already 23, 2400, right? Like these youngsters, at
Exactly.
least 2000 plus the. So that journey from 2100, 2200 to let's say 2700 makes sense. Like it spanned these many years. But for somebody who's like, Abhi Magnus World Champion bana hai, like it's going to take much longer because they might not have had some 2300 youngster at that point. So yeah, it's going to happen at some point. By the way, yes, Edis Gurel also a youngster, but right now
Yeah.
the guy dominating the headlines is a Dogma Sahaj bhai, and he's here.
100%, and I of course Edis Gurel is I think an insane talent as well, but I'm talking about older players from Turkey who are like, let's say, top 5 in the world or top 10. I'm not sure if there are many or if there are any for that matter, and I think that
Yeah.
really affects a player's growth. आप देखो फिरोजा जैसे ईरान से था पहले, राइट? लाइक देयर इज नो प्लेयर हु एक्चुअली डेवलप्ड फ्रॉम देयर प्रायर टू दैट, बट बिकॉज फिरोजा था उसके बाद परहम आया, उसके बाद अमिन तब आया, एंड सो ऑन एंड सो ऑन एंड सो ऑन. बट अब अगर ये लोग डोमिनेंट रहेंगे तो और प्लेयर्स के लिए मतलब डेवलप होना, जब वो सारे स्पॉट्स फिल हो जाएंगे ना, दैट विल बी वेरी डिफिकल्ट. सो नाउ उज्बेकिस्तान का आई थिंक 1 या 2 स्पॉट्स और बचे हैं भाई. लाइक मे बी ओलंपियाड का 4th and 5th स्पॉट बचा हुआ है, वो अगर एक बार फेल हो गया तो वेरी डिफिकल्ट है इंडिया में। जैसे अगर आपको ओलंपियाड खेलना, आपको लग रहा है टॉप 5 प्लेयर्स या टॉप 10 प्लेयर्स के अलावा कोई ओलंपियाड के बारे में सोचता भी है?
Bhai, I literally saw a tweet abhi by some random tweet, I don't know who it was, ki, if any companies want to sponsor, they're looking for names. ये है टॉप 30 इंडियन प्लेयर्स लाइक एंड इसमें सारे सुपर जीएम्स भरे हुए हैं। मैंने लिखा टॉप 500 भी कंसिडर कर सकते हैं क्या है, मैं भी घुस जाऊंगा अंदर। लाइक दैट टेल्स यू लाइक इंडियन चेस इज एट इट्स पीक, इट्स ग्रोइंग रैपिडली एंड बहुत सारे यंगस्टर्स चैट। आई थिंक Pranesh is now rising up the ranks, yeah, so it's gonna be exciting as well. He played very well in the last event as well. By the way, see, okay, that's a committal move, Sahaj bhai. That has to change the valuation in some way.
It does, and not for the best for Arjun. So there are two moves here, and I'll tell you the good news first. The good news is that d5 is not very good for Magnus, which looks more logical. But the bad news is, भाई अगर उसने pawn takes pawn मार दिया, then उसके बाद there is a big problem. Knight takes, pawn takes, knight c3, and white's knight is amazing. White has great activity on or space on the queen side, but black does not. भाई मैं डर गया एक सेकंड के लिए। साक्टिक को भाई ऐसे
कारण की वजह से ये फोटो मेरे पीछे है भाई।
अरे ब्यूटीफुल ब्यूटीफुल
भाई मतलब एक कारण की वजह से मैंने फोटो पीछे रखी है। Because C5, I can guarantee you, chat, there is no way on earth Arjun will play this against anybody else in the world. नहीं होने वाला भाई, हो ही नहीं सकता भाई। Like C5 is such a committal move, and Sahaj bhai, the king is on D7. Like it just makes logical sense for me to just open the D file while your king is on D7. So DC5 feels natural. Maybe I'm wrong, but. Like,
no,
it looks
100%, but this is the same argument. Yeah, you saw the move and then you kind of justify it. But if you don't see the move, maybe you will have different. Maybe you will say, okay, d5 में I'm getting more space. Maybe you will say black तो already cramped था, तो black अभी और cramped हो रहा है after a move like d5. Maybe you will say मैंने पढ़ा था कि space में you should never trade pieces or never trade pawns. So it's like you can also justify a move like d5 as well.
When you said space, I thought आप space बाहर चले गए भाई।
अरे
मस्त वाला space।
but like it's easy to justify I think afterwards, but we'll see. c5 not really that bad of a move, I would say. It's slightly worse according to the bar at least, but pawn takes pawn के बाद position uncomfortable तो लग रही है भाई. That
so
much
let's
I
go
can
deeper.
say.
So now d takes c5, I think that looks logical at least. Like Magnus will find it, is my understanding. Now pawn takes c5 is of course abysmal because you give the e5 square, comes with check. You never even want to consider that move. So you take with the knight, right? That's the understanding. Now I take on c5, let's say. I do have rook h d1 as an option, but let's say I just take on c5 because the engine screams it's the best move. And now somehow like rook h d1 is tempting. Rook b d1 is tempting, knight c3 is tempting, a5 is tempting, h4 is tempting. Like the only choice of Magnus is how does he want to squeeze this game, I feel.
And also with a move like knight c3, which I love by the way, like you're forever telling Arjun that you can never move this knight from f6. The moment you move it away, I have knight d5 and that knight will just be a legend. In fact, black only has one move here. Otherwise, he's clearly worse, and that move is rook a d8. So, difficult journey ahead for India #1.
By the way, maybe just a 30-second, escapade from this game because Zhu Jinner has just blundered the game away.
What?
And she's blundered an entire piece. And, I mean, what? Sahaj bhai, what is this?
Piece तो नहीं है। Oh, भाई she missed queen d3 के बाद queen p2 मर रहा है। But wait, what? What did he miss? What she said? But I'm sorry, but that seems too simple to miss. I'm not sure I understand this.
Wait,
did she miss? I don't even understand. How do you miss rook c8 and queen? Did she just not see the rook is coming to c8? Or, but how do you? मैं knight e7 और किस लिए खेलूँगा rook c8 नहीं तो? But usually when top players like Zujiner make a mistake, it's because they think something is right and then they overlook something, right? ऐसा तो नहीं कि अपने idea miss कर देगा. I'm very excited to see what did she miss here, because b2 is hanging and d4 is hanging.
I found it. Maybe she wanted to play queen b3, Sahaj bhai, because queen d4 there's queen b7 attacking knight and rook, but now there's simply rook c2. Maybe that's what she missed. I don't know. I'm kind of guessing, of
Why
course.
even rook e8 and queen king f8? No, that's also should be winning.
True.
I'm really maybe unless after queen b3 she was thinking queen d4 nahi dekha, but queen b3 also how why will you allow this?
Wow.
It makes no sense to me.
Why? And I must point out, Zuzhiner had a horrible Prague Masters. Like she definitely made a bunch of blunders. Now, candidates was kind of if and buddy for her, but she did spoil many winning positions, Sahaj Bhai. So clearly, she's having some issues with tactical play, right? Because she could have literally finished the candidates event in the first half if she converted all her winning positions.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, she's an exceptionally strong player. That's why it's so surprising. Maybe it's that playing someone like Noderbek could have a effect on you because I'm sure, like I can remember my time when I was playing against Wang Hao when he was 27-30. So we cannot Noderbek. I'm sure the effect will be bigger,
Yeah.
but against Wang Hao, I remember when I was playing 27-30 player. I mean, मैं हर move को ऐसे over analyze कर रहा था. Like I was not playing like myself because I feel like first time you play a player of this level, it can really affect um,
Yeah.
your play. I see. Tikubai, I think she thought about
Hi.
no.
Sorry
I
भाई
was
मेरे
thinking
बैंक का नाम बोला आपने तो मैंने
why
कहा
I
मैं
thought queen h3 and maybe queen b2 and knight e6 is what she thought, but वो भी नहीं चल रहा भाई. ये भी lost है. I mean, just a disclaimer chat, queen takes d4 मर रहा है यहाँ पे, but we're trying to
हाँ
figure
वही
out what did Zhu Jinner miss. We're trying to figure out.
Yeah. So basically, the game is over. I think we might even expect resignation in the next 5 minutes from Zuzhina. So Noderbek about to win his first game, and with this win, he's gonna gain around. I think he's like 220 points. He's gonna gain around. I think 2 points from this. So he's gonna go to 2782, moving towards the world number 3 spot. Chasing Caruana. So good start for Noderbek, by the way. Everybody's gonna target Zuzhina, of course. But this was a horrific blunder, Saj Bhai. Totally unexpected.
I mean, the position is already pretty bad for Zhu Jinner. Like, it's already -1 or something. But I don't understand. Rook c8 to मेरा plan ही है. तो how, like, something doesn't make sense. Do you think
Yeah.
she touched the wrong piece or, like, what could it be?
I would
Because here
still put it
queen
anywhere
d2.
else. No, like I would put the knight on g3 maybe. At least not blunder the piece.
हाँ
Not
मतलब
g3, like
piece
maybe
तो नहीं
some
है
other
भाई
square.
queen b2 में. I mean, it's just like a piece
Uh-huh.
like blunder.
By the way,
But yeah,
queen
very
d2
strange.
Wait, queen d2 played. And queen b2 just takes the pawn.
Exactly.
Okay, this is objectively lost, I think. Because c2, a4, everything is hanging. Okay, so let's go back to Arjun. I think a tough game for Zuzhina there, also behind the clock. Hard to save this one. By the look at this. Oh, what? Magnus played d5? What? He didn't take on c5.
By firstly, I told you okay, it's very hard to justify moves like this to yourself. And secondly, bhai, I'm not so sure if this is like looking very comfortable either for Arjun. Bhai, knight g3 for example. And would you believe me if I told you h4 is like almost losing for you
I
as
literally
black?
was
Would you
looking at the
believe
same
me
line.
this? Like this is huh?
Literally looking at the same thing, Saj. I have it on my screen right now. Knight takes, pawn takes, and it's apparently much better for Magnus.
By crazy h4 जैसे आप chat. I mean, if I was honest with you, like okay, let's say you're playing a chess match here, you're playing bullet, you're playing blitz, whatever. Your opponent plays knight g3. How many of you are playing h4 here? Like I will raise my hand, 100%. No
1
question.
second,
I will
yeah?
play h4 here.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. 1
Chat,
second
like,
where you will play. Yeah.
in 1 second you'll play h4 and it's almost losing. Crazy.
Wow. It's surprising, chat. Basically, so DC5 was the best move, but D5 basically, I think, Sejbhai, coming back to your point that we discussed earlier, right? Magnus, like Stockfish, might just play DC5 here. Magnus is basically saying, okay, maybe he also understands that DC5 might be objectively better, but maybe it opens up too many lines for a rook trade. So he thinks practically for Arjun, it's harder to handle D5. Maybe that's the thought process for Magnus.
Could be. Could very well be. Could very well be. But let's see what happens. Why this looks Yeah, this looks troubling to say the
Exciting.
least.
I would say exciting. A challenge for both players. And knight g7 Arjun ने by the way से 2 मिनट से कम में खेला. Is there any other option apart from knight g3 Sahaj bhai that you'll consider, like maybe knight c3 just to get to e4 anyways, or h4 first to prevent h4 as black, because Magnus also has to see ki bhai h4 is not a good move for black, which is hard. Sometimes you ignore it by default. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. नाइट g3 हो सकता है कि उसको ना दिखे इस पोजीशन में, बट हार्ड टू से. Magnus right now is thinking a bit weird that Magnus is thinking after a move like d5, because I thought कि d5 के बाद his intentions were pretty clear and he would have made the move pretty fast. And but टिकू भाई, Magnus भी उतना consistent नहीं था, in the previous yes, granted he was playing with an iPad and he didn't have time to prepare and all of those things. I understand that, but कुछ moments में ऐसा लग रहा था कि like older Magnus would have like played like much more like without giving any chances. But maybe that could carry on to this tournament. You never know.
Possible. I think results do matter. Duda said do game, like he lost that match against Duda, by the way, a great comeback. So definitely possible. And also a point by somebody in the chat ki, like it's hard when a 2500 women player plays against a elite GM. It's hard to kind of put up a challenge. I think वो short term vision है. I would say long term vision में I would highly suggest looking at Vaishali's performance during Chennai GM in 2025. She finished bottom of the table, had one out of 9 points, and it wasn't even as strong as this event. And I think I heard it somewhere, she said, or she didn't want to play.
You cannot say that cannot say that for anyone who is 2600. Like 2600, 2600 के लिए कुछ भी unfair नहीं है मेरे.
Temukan hotel keluarga terbaik bareng Agoda. Download sekarang.
I think also, like for example, even if you lose that event, ऐसे top player से खेलने का जो experience है ना, it's gonna help Zujiner for the next 2 years, man. Like Divya, by the way, also won the World Cup, but she had a horrible Tata Steel Challengers. She had a horrible another event before that, I think, where she was one of the weakest seeds. So I think it's very common. You play a strong event, you get annihilated there. But then you have so much learning from that event because you get crushed on so many aspects of your game, and then you improve. It's like वो गोकू को वो it's like upgrading yourself with Super Saiyan mode basically, because you get beaten up so badly. Then when you recover, you kind of gain a lot of strength as a chess player.
100%. And chat में chess bars is saying, Sahaj bhai, all chess players have been taught that rooks belong on the open file, but why is either Magnus and Arjun not doing it? So basically इससे एक quote याद आता है मुझे, which is कि when you learn chess, you kind of learn the rules, but when you study chess at a higher level, you learn the exceptions of the rules. So in this scenario, yes, rooks do belong on an open file, but there are always exceptions. To be more technical, there was pawn takes pawn, black could take on cb5, and so on and so on. So this is an exception basically, and you will see whenever we look at top level games, there will always be exceptions.
By the way, Shitil bhai कह रहे हैं सस्ते इंजन कह रहे हैं 0.0. Of course, I think a supercomputer might tell you it's 0.0, but दोनों players के दिमाग में 100% it's not 0.0. I feel like look at the knights, by the way, on g7, f6. Not very happy. White का एक rook developed there. It's also white to play that matters, because I can, for example, put my rook on e1 or play knight g3, knight c3 as we discussed. So even putting more pressure on black. And ये d6 pawn, and white का space बहुत ज़्यादा है सहज भाई. Like any end game is a nightmare for black to play. Like p6 rook end game nightmare हो सकती है, knight end game nightmare हो सकती है, king pawn end game could be a nightmare in some cases. It's very hard to play as black practically.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, look at this. He goes a5, advancing on the queen side, maybe creating some a6 or b6, but it's good to have this option. Good to create some pressure. Of course, black should be very careful before playing b6 or a6, because white capture कर सकता है, and then one of the files becomes open. So tough decision ahead for Arjun. Knight f5 maybe looks the most logical. Tikku bhai, what do you think about this move?
या नाइट f5 स्पेशली जब हमें पता है कि भाई जब पता है कि नाइट g3 इज अ किलर मूव, नाइट f5 कम्स टू माइंड ऑटोमेटिकली नाउ उसको रोकने के लिए. I was also wondering if h4 is an option to do the same, but somehow the bar doesn't love it. Yeah, it says white can now, if you play h4 as black with the same idea to prevent knight g3, white can now go g4, जो विशी सर का ओरिजिनल प्लान था. We can start pushing the g pawn now, and suddenly that is much much better for white. So knight f5, one of the only good moves in the position. और क्या खेलोगे सर? ऐसा कोई मूवी नहीं दिख रही वहां पे. रूकी 8 या
तो नाइट g7 पे गया, ये जो नाइट g7 पे जो उसने c5 खेला, थिंक अबाउट, ही वाज थिंकिंग अबाउट द नाइट एज वेल, नो, ही वाज थिंकिंग कि भाई नाइट
या
को किधर रखूं मैं इसके बाद, एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, एंड ही सेड ओके लेट्स प्ले c5 एंड पुट द नाइट ऑन g7. नाउ व्हाई डिड ही डू दैट? He wanted to play knight f5, so I'm
या
guessing that should be the next move.
Yep, hopefully that is. He does put the knight there. Also, you have potential control over the d4 square. अगर यहाँ e2 वाला knight हिलता है, so at least एक black का piece तो active रहेगा. That's helpful. Sahaj, I have a question in chat also, like I think a thought process. Let's say कि दोनों rooks exchange हो जाते हैं यहाँ पे. Who benefits more, white or black?
It's a very good question, but probably right now black. But if it's one rook, then maybe white. Like I think, because I'm thinking about it in terms of chess. Like अगर हम strategy की बात करें यहाँ पे, तो it feels like ब्लैक को किंग साइड पे भी बचाना पड़ेगा, क्वीन साइड पे भी बचाना पड़ेगा. तो एक जगह रुक दो, एक जगह दोनों रुक रख दिया आपने, एक वो बचाएगा एक ये बचाएगा. एक रुक कर दिया अगर मैंने उसकी बजाय, तो मे बी द रुक कैन स्ट्रगल. एंड किंग साइड पे प्रेशर ऑफ कोर्स इज हैपनिंग विद h4 एंड नाइट कमिंग टू g5 अटैकिंग द f7 pawn. So some rook would have to defend this. Then on the queen side you can play a6 b6 and some sack on b6, or you can play b6 a6. I don't know, some kind of pressure तो है definitely queen side पे. So based on these two, I think एक change कर लेना चाहिए.
Agreed. I also have a similar feeling. I think अगर दोनों को exchange हो गए, maybe white doesn't have enough of targets right now to create genuine winning chances. It might just be more space for white, but just optical advantage and not really real advantage. So दोनों को exchange नहीं करने चाहिए right now, and maybe one rook can be beneficial because black का counterplay पूरा खत्म हो जाएगा. There'll be no counterplay on the e file, and white can just take his time as Magnus usually does. By the way, rook a e8 is what he chose. I thought rook h e8 खेलेंगे. Is there a difference है भाई? दोनों कौन सा rook e8 रखना चाहिए? It's not clear, right?
You know, this is an ever long question in in chess, Tiku bhai. I'm sure like you've had like 100 games where you've wondered कि दोनों रुक आ सकते हैं, कौन सा रुक यार, मतलब ऐसा लग रहा है कभी फ्यूचर में जाके ये रुक का कुछ रोल तो रहेगा. नहीं नहीं यार, इस रुक का भी, कभी उसने b6 खेल दिया तो कभी मुझे b6 का भी खेलना पड़ा है. तो इट्स लाइक एट द एंड आई फील ऑल चेस प्लेयर जस्ट लाइक दे लाइक फ्लिप अ कॉइन इन देयर हेड एंड दे जस्ट चूज, या भाई कुछ तो खेलना पड़ेगा आपको एंड में, एंड दिस इज व्हाट इट फील्स लाइक टू मी.
Agreed. And I think वहीं पे intuition काम आती है. I think that's why Magnus is so strong. His intuition about such decisions is very, very good. And okay, we did not play knight f5 though. Is knight g3 still an option? Maybe it's not now because h4 के बाद I can't go knight e4 Sahaj bhai. So it's also kind of preventing knight g3.
So knight g3, h4, knight e4 is not possible because a rook is putting pressure here. So knight takes, rook takes, we'll just lose a pawn. Nice move actually, nice find. So maybe white should also go rook e1 then. And I mean, then again, a ever long question for Magnus also, bhai. Chalo, chat आपसे question करता हूँ ये. So like now you know, I'll tell you the preset of like what's going on. So basically Magnus is trying to push, and Arjun has just played rook e8. You know that Magnus is trying to put pressure on Arjun. Just based on chess strategy alone, which rook is better, h1 or b1 for you?
Good question.
Just based on your instinct, what do you think? Because there is, I think here there is a right answer.
हाँ, yeah, yeah. Good question actually because कई बार chat होता है ना, जैसे लूडो अगर आप खेले हो कभी जिंदगी में, so कई बार आपकी एक गीटी निकल चुकी है, like मतलब it's kind of advanced a bit. So कई बार दूसरे वाला अगर 6 आ जाए तो दूसरे को भी निकाल के रख लो. Let's just not put all our ludos in one basket, Sahaj bhai. What do you think?
ये वाली बढ़िया थी भाई. अरे न्यू मंथ, लेट्स गो, न्यू मंथ न्यू पेज.
May 1st. इस महीने बहुत स्ट्रीम है सहज भाई, लगता है बहुत पेज भर जाएंगे.
So Jad, what Tiku Bhai says also, I think, is just an additional point to the situation. But I feel लॉट ऑफ पीपल आर सेइंग रुक B1 वाला टच होना चाहिए, बट आई थिंक यू वुड बी रॉन्ग हियर चैट, बिकॉज अगर जिस साइड से भी आप प्रेशर डालते हो ना, एंड यू कैन सी कि पोजिशन इज सो सिमेट्रिकल, लाइक दोनों के पास घोड़े हैं, दोनों के पास वही सेम पॉन्स हैं, सेम फाइल पे पॉन्स हैं, सेम तरह के रुक्स हैं, सब कुछ सेम है। तो अगर जिस साइड से भी आप प्रेशर डालते हो, उस साइड को हमेशा जितना ज़्यादा आप इम्बैलेंस क्रिएट कर सकते हो उतना बेटर है। तो अगर आप ब्लैक ये कर रहा है तो आप कॉपी नहीं कर सकते, आपको उसके थोड़ा सा अगेंस्ट जाना जरूरी है रुक H1 जस्ट टू हैव अ विनिंग चांस, क्योंकि रुक B1 पे रहेगा, पोजीशन सिमेट्रिकल नहीं रहेगी तो जीतने के चांसेस ज़्यादा रहेंगे। दैट्स हाउ आई वुड सी दिस।
एक बंदा कहता है I'd rather resign bro if Magnus is sitting in front of us all of us will resign by don't worry we are on the same boat। by the way Magnus का एक ही इश्यू मुझे हल्का सा लग रहा है and maybe this is because of only one reason कि Magnus खेलते नहीं है क्लासिकल चेस उतना। his time Sahej bhai, usually I would expect Magnus to make quicker decisions in these moments but he's taking his time and अभी भी somehow 14 मिनट पीछे अर्जुन से। Maybe this could be the saving grace for Arjun. Like maybe at some point, 5-6 moves down the line, like Magnus might need that time, but होगा नहीं उनके पास।
हाँ, could be, but it's a, like, let's say it's not very difficult for Magnus to play filler moves here. And yeah, it's possible that Magnus is not match fit right now. It's for sure it's possible because Magnus has not played chess for like almost a year now. नॉर्वे चेस के अलावा, नॉर्वे चेस भी घर पे ही होता है भाई, तो you don't have that tournament वाली फीलिंग। मैं जब दिल्ली ओपन खेलता था भाई, आई मीन इट वाज अ लवली टूर्नामेंट, बट वो टूर्नामेंट की फील नहीं आती थी क्योंकि घर से खेलते थे आप।
बट वो गुकेश ने फील लाई थी ना सहज भाई, वो टेबल का वो करके तो
हाँ,
फील तो आ गई थी।
वो वाली फील वापस नहीं लानी है ना मैग्नस को।
हाँ Yeah, will be interesting. Of course, Norway Chess starts this month as well, last week of May. उससे पहले भाई बहुत सारे इवेंट्स हैं, मजा आएगा। You will see as you will see very soon. GCT भी आने वाला है. But meanwhile, Magnus still thinking 24 minutes now. Time difference बढ़ता हुआ 15 मिनट हो चुका है. And there's this idea which the Indian loves and chat भी कह रही है, basically to just go A6 now. While this is usually want to keep options open, I do see an idea कि कल को एंड गेम में after A6 and B6 I could bring a knight to A4 and just take on B6 सहज भाई, and suddenly black को एक पीस वहां पीछे रखना पड़ेगा to defend this idea।
एक महान इंसान ने कहा था थ्रेट इज बेटर देन एग्जीक्यूशन, सो नाइट C3 सीधा खेल लो, A6 खेलने की क्या जरूरत है, वो तो क्या पता बाद में जाके B6 खेलना पड़े आपको। तो नाइट C3 नाइट A4 ले आओ, क्या पता आप नाइट टेक C5 चेक मार दो उधर इंस्टेड ऑफ प्लेइंग A6 एट एज। सो लाइक डोंट मेक कमिटल मूव्स एज मैग्नस, लाइक बिकॉज देन इट मेक्स द डिफेंस ईजी। क्योंकि अगर मैंने कमिट कर दिया फिर मैं वहीं टारगेट कर सकता हूँ उसके। जैसे अगर आप बहुत सिंपल एग्जांपल है, पॉन B7 पे है तो मे बी देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी नाइट A4 के बाद मैं नाइट से पॉन मार सकता हूँ। ठीक है, मेरे को नाइट मिल रहा है, आपको 2 पॉन्स मिल रहे हैं, इट्स एन इम्बैलेंस एंड आई कुड ट्राई टू विन दैट बिकॉज आई हैव कनेक्टेड पॉन्स। मे बी इट डज इट वर्क, मे बी इट डज, बट एक बार A6 B6 आ गया तो नाइट C5 का आइडिया तो बिल्कुल गया ना। तो कमिटल मूव्स का यही डिसएडवांटेज होता है कि यू कैन नॉट बी फ्लेक्सिबल।
सो अगर आपको मैग्नस की तरह महान बनना है तो कमिटमेंट से दूर जाना है सहज भाई, आप कह रहे हैं मतलब ऐसे कमिटमेंट नहीं करनी।
एग्जैक्टली भाई, फ्लेक्सिबल रहो,
फ्लेक्सिबल रहना चाहिए, बी फ्लेक्सिबल। सलमान खान नाराज होंगे कि भाई एक बार कमिटमेंट कर दी थी उन्होंने, बट बी फ्लेक्सिबल यार, वापस ले लो कमिटमेंट भाई, डजंट मैटर।
तो आप भी, आपकी भी तो शादी अभी हुई थी।
नहीं मतलब मैं चेस की बात कर रहा हूँ भाई, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट चेस
थोड़ा
अच्छा
अच्छा।
मैं कभी चेस से दूर जाता हूँ क्या चैट, तुम बताओ कभी?
हाँ,
क्या
सलमान खान के सारे चेस के गेम्स देखे हैं मैंने भाई, ब्यूटीफुल
भाई। सलमान खान का ग्रॉब ओपनिंग देखना भाई, G4 क्रेजी अटैक, लाइक क्रेजी, G4 रुक G1 रुक G3, इट्स इनसेन, एंड देन रुक कम्स टू H3 H7 पे मेट,
अरे क्रेजी, रुक H3 A3 पे आके H7 भाई, क्रेजी, लाइक ये तो स्टडी करना पड़ेगा भाई।
यप। सो ब्रश तोड़ेगा नहीं,
आइडिया जोक्स तो बहुत आ रहे हैं बट बोल नहीं सकता।
नहीं ब्रश नहीं टूटेंगे भाई, दंत मंजन करते रहे। मीनवाइल रुके E8 के बाद रुके H1 आई थिंक इज द लॉजिकल मूव दैट मेक्स सेंस एज वी डिस्कस्ड। एक रुक एक्सचेंज कर सकते हैं हम लोग, इट्स नॉट गोना स्पॉइल व्हाइट्स पोजीशन। H4 of course was a move, but knight F5 आ रहा है अब, so I think that's gonna tie down our rook to H1 for defense, and knight E3 is also an option for black. So maybe रुके H1 का समय आ चुका है सहज भाई।
ये समय तो आ चुका है भाई, पर लेकिन समय मैग्नस के पास उतना बचा नहीं है क्योंकि 17 मिनट मूव चल रहे हैं और 21 मिनट ही पड़े हैं, और अर्जुन तब से उसी पोज पे बैठा हुआ है, मतलब ही उसने बोर्ड पे देखा ही नहीं है भाई पिछले 20 मिनट। भाई लुक एट दिस, A6 प्लेड,
Bhai,
Sorry, chat.
let's go, Magnus. Let's go. He's gonna plan for knight b2 a4 and knight takes b6. Bhai, if I think if Arjun is losing, that's the plan. He's gonna lose too.
Why? But I'm, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of this because I feel okay for Arjun. I think the defense just became a lot easier. I feel. But let's see what he
Would you
goes for.
say the defense became cleaner, not easier?
I think
I don't know
easier.
if there's a difference.
Much.
Easier, yeah? Okay.
I think easier because knight c5 is not possible. I mean, if I'm defending this as black and you play a6 and b6, I have a sigh of relief. Wow, thank you for committing that because now I know there is no b6 on the board. Now I know queen side पे मुझे कहाँ कहाँ नजर रखनी है. So I'm not so sure if this was necessary right now. But look at this. He does play knight c3. It seems too like one-sided this plan. Like एक बार knight अपने 3 चालें खेल के knight a4 लेके जाओगे तो king c7 एक move में मैं defend कर रहा हूँ.
So let's play the moves. Yeah, let's say knight f5, which I think Arjun will play. I don't see any. I literally no other moves I see in this position. Let's say I play knight a4. What's black's best? Is king c7?
Knight a4, king c. Let's say knight f5, knight a4, king c7, whatever. I mean, rook e3 भी है. It's not like आप knight b6 threaten कर रहे हो, by the way, because I have two rooks looking at the back rank. So just want to mention that as well. But I'm guessing in the long term he wants to go rook e1 and he just wants to trade off everything and that's it.
By the way, Sahaj bhai, I think just a 30-second, switch from this game because एक और गेम में ब्लंडर हो चुका है. निल्स ग्रैंडेलियस ने गेम हाथ में दे दी है अपने ओपोनेंट के. भाई रुक d8 मिस्टेक एंड नाउ बिशप b4 check king e8 and takes bishop f8, just losing a bunch of pawns.
That's, I think, GG. Takes. Yeah, that's just lost, no? Oh, Andy Woodward is gonna win his first game. Simple है तो भाई, कितना simple है तो.
Wow. भाई ये तो I think he just thought.
Also, it's the right color, भाई. Right color pawn as well. Chat, so always remember in any type of bishop endgame, you should always think about the right color and the wrong color. Like had this been a light bishop and black का dark होता, and then ये pawn उतना beneficial नहीं था आपके लिए क्योंकि right color नहीं था. तो ये हमेशा सोचना चाहिए इस बारे में. This is completely winning, I would say, for white.
Also, Chad, this is also tells you, yeah, कि never, वो rules हम सीखते हैं कि opposite color bishops are kind of drawn, but this is not one of those cases. The rules can be broken and वो समझना बहुत ज़रूरी है. Nils shaking his head, by the way. I think he thought, okay, opposite color bishop endgame draw, like he just kind of went on intuition and जब calculate करते हुए realized कि भाई this is just lost and it's gonna be over. So दो result confirm होते हुए सहज भाई. Let's jump back to Arjun Magnus. जहां पे knight f5 played after a 3-minute thing by Arjun Erigaisi, just played on the board, and now Magnus not at the seat with 21 minutes, time ticking down. भाई मतलब कितने रिजल्ट आने वाले भाई? दो तो कंफर्म हो गए ऑलरेडी.
100%. I think looks very, very difficult for Magnus. I mean, I don't know how is he going to put pressure. It also looks like his time is going to be a huge issue. We do have a super chat, by the way. Thank you for the super chat. Madhur Kumar 5810 says, do you think this year WCC is one-sided for Uzbek? So I firstly no, absolutely not. And I'll tell you two different instances where at least I'm not going to talk about the world because I'm not sure what type of opinions they had, but I'll tell you from our eyes, from my eyes and let's say my circle and a lot of people that I know in chess, there were two world championships. One was Vichy versus Boris Gelfand, जहाँ पे Vichy sir was a very heavy favorite, and we know that that match was the closest it could get. And the other match was Magnus versus Karyakin, जहाँ पे Magnus was dubbed as a very clear favorite over Karyakin, जहाँ पे Magnus was the only time in his life he was down in a match, only time in his life. So अगर आपकी ये predictions भी है ना कि ये player one sided रहेगा, ऐसा हुआ तो it will be the first time it ever happens in a game with 150 years of history, which is surprising for us as well. So but ऐसा होगा नहीं because match में सब अलग होता है.
Also, I think candidates में क्या है कि there's this pressure of you winning a bunch of games. To win the match, you have to be +5, for example, right? आपको 5+ games जीतनी है compared to equal score. So just by odds, अगर 8 लोग खेल रहे हैं, there's a good chance somebody just races ahead of the field. अगर सुंदरन जो किया वो crazy था, like it was one in a century kind of form.
Berlisensi global, penarikan dana cepat, 300 lebih aset. Okta, trading dengan percaya diri.
Tunggu apa lagi? Mending langsung download aplikasi Rupiah Cepat di Play Store ataupun App Store di handphone kalian. Terus nikmati limit pinjaman hingga 100 juta dengan bunga yang rendah mulai dari 0,01% dengan tenor cicilan yang panjang sampai dengan 12 bulan loh. Selain itu, Rupiah Cepat sudah berizin dan diawasi oleh otoritas jasa keuangan loh. Jadi
Then Guki. So like you are correct. By that logic, Kasparov is higher rated than Magnus Carlsen right now. Like uska matlab it doesn't prove anything, right? Because Magnus didn't really play any classical chess besides the 3 or 4 rounds that I saw him playing against 2,500 players. But Gukesh has been active in the classical scene. And also by rating is like upar niche jati rehti hai. So it's bad for the players to think about it. It's bad for the viewers to constantly ye upar chala gaya, niche chala gaya. But I feel like we should just not think about it that much. We should not give it as much importance. Yeah, it's important for sure, but it shouldn't be the only thing we think about.
By the way, very important point. So knight d4 played, Sedgwick if he refreshes the board. एंड वो जो कंपैरिजन आता है जो सेजवाई बता रहे हैं स्टॉकफिश और मैग्नस के बीच, यहाँ पे स्टॉकफिश कहता है रुक टेक c8 रुक e1 बेस्ट मूव.
हाँ.
Now will Magnus do this? I mean possible because now there's a weakness on b6, but I doubt it. He will likely try to create one more weakness maybe.
By Magnus has to think this position is completely winning for him to do that.
See, he doesn't do
it. He doesn't play it h4.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Magnus going for not the best move because he thinks that's still the better practical try. So वहीं पे आता है वो logic कि भाई Stockfish sometimes might not play the best practical move and might be tougher to beat Magnus than Stockfish.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, after h4, now I think Arjun's moves are pretty clean. Like knight c2 looks very good, inviting this trade, and then दूसरा रुक भी trade हो ही जाएगा. I don't see a way for Magnus to make progress anymore. I feel like, okay, maybe जो भी बचा कुछ chance था, it is gone now. Arjun, I think, will hold this. And by the way, Abdul Sattarov has defeated Zhu Jinner. That match is over. They're still analyzing. Probably, would love to know what happened in that game where, on that move. But they're still analyzing. That's a very good sign.
Yeah. And of course, the blunder was a bit weird, not expected. From Zhu Jinner, but of course I think sometimes it just happens to you. We've seen worse. So एक रिजल्ट आ गया, दूसरा आने वाला है, बट बाकी दोनों गेम्स डेड इक्वल राइट नाउ. h4 के बाद मैग्नस गेम बाद आर्बिटर सेइंग कि भाई बाकी लोग खेल रहे हैं, आप ये बाद में कहीं और करो जाके एनालिसिस.
वो भी arbiter भी खुश हो रहा होगा भाई. It's nice. I mean, imagine being an arbiter at an event where Magnus is playing. But there must be someone there जिनका ये पहली बार they're trying to be an arbiter, and that arbiter is gonna have the tournament of their lives. Yeah, come on. In your first gig, you're looking at Magnus. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's also a lot of pressure, right? Because मुझे याद है एक बार chat, I don't know if you've seen this clip. एक बार I think it was FIDE World Rapid Team and Blitz. I think from 2024 or 2024 I think. मैग्नस की बॉटल पड़ी थी टेबल के ऊपर एंड आर्बिटर कम्स एंड वो बॉटल उठा के उसको नीचे रख देते हैं. भाई मैग्नस का रिएक्शन वाज इनसेन. लाइक इफ यू वर द आर्बिटर उस टाइम पे यू फील अ लॉट ऑफ प्रेशर. यार मतलब भाई मैंने कुछ गलत तो नहीं कर दिया बिकॉज मैग्नस इज genuinely irritated at you. So I think it's not an easy job, especially against when you're kind of doing it in an event when Magnus is playing and so on.
For sure. But now Arjun is thinking.
I'll check.
33 minutes. Yeah, Tikku bhai, maybe you can let us know about the super chat. Thank you, Samay bhai.
Super chat on the Chesscom India channel. Goku ji कह रहे हैं, guys, Goku wisdom. Wow, दोनों words crazy. I love chess. Magnus are Indian players. This troubles me. Does Magnus skipping the World Championship reduce his relevance and leave the next generation confused? It may even have impacted Mukesh too. What's your take? I think Magnus dominated chess so much at some point he felt there was no competitor. Like if Firuzja, for example, had won the candidates in 2022, I think, right? Or 3, I don't know when it was, but maybe he would have potentially played
24 था क्या?
नहीं 24 Mukesh won.
हाँ भाई,
which
Firouzja
was
was
when
playing.
Nepo won. No, 21 था शायद maybe. I don't know which one it was.
Okay, you mean before. That was
Ha
22, yeah.
ha. So I think Magnus skipping is his decision. Now, does it affect the other generation? For sure. Like being the world champion, even though you're not the strongest player, forces you into this compulsion to prove that you are the world champion and puts this additional pressure on your shoulders. And that's why I think we see every world champion struggle, chahe wo Ding ho ya Gukesh ho. But also, like, it's on you, kind of, because if Magnus was playing and he is much stronger than you would likely not get this opportunity of becoming the world champion. So you are world champion, it's on you to kind of rise to the occasion, right? So I think it's extra pressure for sure, but it's also an opportunity. So I think trade-off is Sahej bhai. What is your thought process there?
I'm not really sure I understand the question. Like, does he mean that if once Magnus has retired, it has made like there is some ambiguity in the chess world? Is that what he means?
No, it's like, matlab, it reduces the relevance, of course, of the world championship. Also, like, leaves the next generation confused. Like, matlab, for example, just say if somebody's watching
I
chess,
mean,
it's
but
like,
it
okay,
has happened before in chess, right? When
ah,
Kasparov left, I believe in 1990 something, 95, 96 or something like this. Also, he left. No,
yeah.
95 with the world champion ही बना था. But I mean, Kasparov also when he formed that PCA with every. I mean, it has happened in the past where the top player has left, and then उसके बाद एक वो period रहता है जहाँ पे एक कोई surety नहीं है. हम like we don't know who is the best player. And then suddenly एक player आता है who takes up the mantle again, and in the past that player was Magnus Carlsen. Now maybe that player is already playing chess, we just don't know it. Maybe it's Ardomash, you never know. Maybe it's Gukesh, maybe it's Prag, maybe it's Arjun. It could be anyone in this sense. But yes, that place is left. But yeah, but Magnus, को retire करना पड़ेगा उसके लिए. I think जब तक वो खेल रहा है तब तक it's not easy to take up that space.
Also, I think on the front of the value reducing, I mean, थोड़ा बहुत फर्क तो पड़ेगा if Magnus is not playing. But also, like, I think chess is also
भाई
evolving,
Kasparov
right? I
भी
think
अगर
classic.
Kasparov
हाँ
2003 में रिटायर ना करता टिक्कू भाई, सॉरी टू कट यू
हाँ
ऑफ, बट Kasparov
हाँ
ना करता, डू यू थिंक मैग्नस का राइज ऐसे रहता? लाइक थोड़ा तो हिंडर होता ना भाई. तो मैग्नस
for
2005
sure.
6 जब कास्परोव की तब भी जब वो 28 होता तो मैग्नस बार बार खेलता, उससे वो बार बार मतलब कास्परोव कीप्स पुटिंग प्रेशर. आई मीन मे बी दैट ऑल्सो अफेक्ट्स हिम, या सो.
Also, he doesn't coach Magnus if he's still playing. That is for sure. So I think
बट
that तो
कोचिंग
direct
तो एक
effect
दो
है.
सेशन ही हुए थे ना उनके. इट
नहीं
वाजंट
नहीं,
लाइक
they had a few years of coaching, no? Sahej bhai, like
नॉट
11.
फ्यू इयर्स, नो भाई, नॉट फ्यू
हाँ
इयर्स.
11 to 13 they were working, Sahej bhai. 2-3 साल की coaching हुई
I
थी उनकी.
but okay, like it wasn't a lot of camps. I think I mean,
हाँ
at least
हाँ.
from what I read, it was not like anything crazy.
But yeah, and
But
also
yeah,
I
you're
think
you're right in saying he wouldn't work. He wouldn't work.
turning faster. I think classical chess ka significance and the number of classical events that top players play in general is going slightly down. So that automatically means that the classical world championship loses maybe some relevance for me at least. But of course, like in terms of history and the importance it holds, like there's a reason why Ukesh cried when he became the world champion, right? There's a reason why you've not seen him cry by winning other events, because it is still, even though the significance might reduce a bit, it's still the coveted tournament, the most important tournament in the world. Like everybody would love to win. Like if you ask me मुझे कौन सा tournament, एक tournament आपको जीतना है दुनिया में as a chess player, हर कोई उसी का नाम लेगा still.
Yeah, 100%. Someone's also supercharted. Madhur Kumarji, thanks for the superchat again. Did Hikaru becoming WC dream is now over for him and you mean Hikaru's dream of becoming world champion is over for him and Fabi? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they could still try, but for Hikaru maybe a bit more than for Fabi, because Hikaru is, I'm not sure, because to be candidates fit, like you also have to play a lot of chess, and Hikaru already is so successful in his other ventures that I'm not so sure if he will come back. But Fabi for sure I think is gonna be back, because I think that is the one thing that he really deep, like very deeply cares about, and I think he will try, he'll try again.
And also I think you can kind of figure out कि कितने chance से candidates by the number of ways people qualify into the candidates. Fabi, I think last candidates were qualified via 3 paths, and this candidates also he was the first one to qualify. So I think Fabi is still in it, absolutely. Hikaru, I think, might take that practical call. It's just too much effort for something in my life journey, so it might be tougher for him. Absolutely agree. I think with the same thought process. By the way, in the game, we have a bunch of stuff that happened. So h4 knight c2 was played. By the way, best move. Rook takes e8. Of course, you don't want to give the e file away. So rook takes e8. Rook c1 attacking the knight. And apparently, like 93 is a very good move just played by Arjun, and it's very, very close to equal now. In fact, there are a bunch of repetitions.
No,
Like
bhai,
knight
it's a dead
f5.
draw. It's a dead draw.
Yeah.
I feel like they will just agree to a draw very soon. I feel okay. Magnus, it's possible Magnus missed something somewhere, and now it's like dead equal. वो a6 से ही समझ आ गया था भाई position, मतलब कुछ
Wow.
गलत हो रहा है यहाँ पे.
Wow, that would be a good hold by Arjun. I think at one point it looked like it could be troublesome, but at the end, great defense. Also, Magnus got time, be 18 minutes remaining on the clock, so it doesn't signal enough flexibility in terms of just having a one long deep thing. So what do you do? In fact, c4 pawn is hanging, by the way. So you have to be careful.
And also knight e2 is a blunder, bhai, because there's knight takes g2. Hello.
Oof.
That looks like the most logical place to put the knight. And if I go knight d1 or something, I'm just curious. Which knight d5 वगैरह तो नहीं हो रहा. That's too much, yeah, maybe. Yeah, knight d5 is too much. It's +2, yeah, it's too much. I was thinking, okay, I have 2 pawns, you have 2 knights. I mean, okay, maybe I can play.
अगर उल्टा होता है भी then yes.
और ये pawn भी थोड़े close ही लग रहे हैं नहीं?
True.
I mean, let me ask you a question, टिक्कू भाई. आपका मैच है 1700 के बच्चे के साथ, ठीक है? आप मैच जीत, अगर ये गेम जीत जाते हो तो आप टूर्नामेंट जीत रहे हो, ठीक है? Do you take knight d5 here, yes or no?
No, I won't take by.
You are joking me. Of course you will.
नहीं, I won't take d5. I feel like
no, भाई ड्रॉ पे कुछ नहीं मिल रहा आपको, टॉप 3 पे भी नहीं आ रहे आप.
हाँ, but I won't take because I
रिस्क तो लोगे ना भाई.
I'm not sure.
By the way, played knight d1 played.
Wow. I also thought knight a4 खेल सकते हैं just to again put that pressure on b7, but simply king c7 and it's not enough. So knight d1, practical move. And now you can take, but apparently the best move is just knight f5 again. Like that's your most active piece. Let's not trade it, yeah?
Basically, like this side is completely dead. There is nothing to do here. And black queen king side पे आप knight f5 खेल के king ऊपर नीचे करते रहो. कुछ plan ही नहीं है white के पास. I think this is a dead. I mean, if I played knight f5 here, you have to play g3. You can never play g4 because ये pawn मरता रहेगा. And like, okay, king c7. Like, if you cannot, there's nothing you can touch on the queen side, nothing you can touch on the king side. H pawn blocked है, f pawn touch नहीं कर सकते. g4 पे knight h4 मर जाएगा. Then there is no improvement left anymore. So this is, I guess, where they agreed to a draw. I predict this game is going to finish in the next 10 minutes.
Yep, agreed. And I think Magnus will have to take a call. I think knight d1 maybe is what he's hoping for because knight on f6 is still not the best piece on the board. Even that feels equal. But knight f5, just keeping that knight, active knight, should be a comfortable hold. No issues there. So, Sahaj bhai, I mean, if Arjun can draw this, I think would be a very good start. Magnus Carlsen से black से draw करना without any serious trouble. Although he had a couple of questionable decisions, जो I think Magnus के against ही वो खेलेंगे. So दोबारा repeat तो नहीं होगा वो. Bishop h6 and also like that plan. So I think should be okay. c5 वाला.
Right. Right, but let's see. Knight c4 by the way अभी भी possible है. Or knight d5, but yeah, I think he will take on d1 and I think they will just shake hands and go home soon. I think right now he's thinking knight d1 because he knows Magnus है ना, तो knight d1 पहले के टाइम्स में यहाँ पे प्लेयर्स knight d1 या knight फटाफट खेलते और 10-5 अब तक गेम ड्रॉ भी हो चुका होता. बट उसको अर्जुन को पता है कि मैग्नस है कि फर्क पड़ेगा अगर आप नाइट मारते हो नहीं मारते हो, बिकॉज एंड में जाके मतलब 4 घंटे बाद आपको समझ आएगा कि यार नाइट मार देना चाहिए था शायद या नहीं मारना चाहिए. दैट्स अ गुड मूव बाय द वे, द बेस्ट मूव.
Nice decision. Knight f5 and g3 only move for Magnus Carlsen. Of course he'll play it, but to see an only move for Carlsen on the board, भाई कलेजे को ठंडक पड़ रही है सहज भाई. Like it's so nice.
दूसरी बार हुआ ये.
एक ही चाल है भाई.
Look at this. Second time it happened. First time was here. After knight c2, only rook e8 from the blue arrow, and second time is right now.
Can we go full screen भाई? Because I think ऐसे मोमेंट्स में देखने में मजा आता है भाई. Carlsen के पास इकलौती चाल. एंड सहज भाई क्या मेरा ऑप्टिमिस्टिक मन ऐसे ही उछल रहा है फॉर नो रीजन, और इज देयर होप कि Carlsen doesn't find g3? Is there a chance?
भाई come on भाई. No भाई, no chance. h4 is hanging, no? Knight h4. h4 is hanging, so there is no way that he defends the pawn.
भाई देखते हैं. Okay, Chad, what do you think? Do you think Carlsen will make a mistake? Yes or no? I think no, of course. But is there somebody? Oh, सवाल पूछने से पहले ही जीतनी खेल दिया यार.
भाई क्या बात कर रहे हो भाई, मैग्नस है क्या, जीती थोड़ी ना मिस करेगा भाई वो, क्या बात कर रहे हो, नो चांस. बट आई थिंक नाउ अर्जुन जस्ट मूव्स द किंग समवेयर अप एंड डाउन एंड दैट्स इट. समय भाई एक बार जूम देख लेना.
हाँ, मैंने वो मैसेज किया व्हाट्सएप पे भी, वो चेक कर लेना. थोड़ा सा
okay.
मौका मिल जाए. बट ओके, yeah, gonna be interesting chat. Will Magnus Carlsen find a way to push? By the way, what do you think is Arjun's next move? Being honest, I would just pass. I'm good. Don't need to move anything. I like my pieces where they are. Like, this is pass. Like, I would just pass as black.
I mean, yeah, king c7, king d8, king c8 or something is fine. Rook e7 is fine. मूव नहीं है भाई किसी के पास भी. आई मीन अब कोई जीतने के लिए, आई मीन चैट विल बी हैप्पी टू हियर दिस, बट आई थिंक एनीवन हु इज प्लेइंग फॉर अ विन हियर इज अर्जुन. इट्स नॉट मैग्नस एनीमोर आई थिंक.
Agreed. Because
नहीं, मैं मैग्नस थोड़ा इनकंसिस्टेंट लग रहा है आई थिंक पहले से. लाइक ऐसे पोजीशंस में आई थिंक देयर इज नो चांस कि समवन लाइक मैग्नस डजंट पुट प्रेशर आफ्टर 2 hours. देयर इज नो चांस. लाइक
yeah, and also, for example, I was trying to see if I figure out a way to get to the rook to the e file. There is no way, by because rook c2, rook e2, I can just take, and the g3 pawn is hanging now. So white somehow has too many, loose pieces here. G3 pawn hanging, d4 square weak, c4 pawn weak, right? If I get the knight to e3 again. So I feel like the only thing giving him equality is the space and the potential of those pawns, and that's why it's equal. Arjun, you can see from his body language also, yeah? He looks a bit as confident now, sitting up straight, bent forward.
I think now he's relaxed maybe. Okay, first round you also want to get back into the, let's say, the frame of the tournament, get back. You need to be, I mean, you could be a bit rusty as well because आपने एक साल से classical chess नहीं खेला है. तो from Magnus' side I think it feels like maybe that could just be it. जो मैग्नस को नेक्स्ट खेलेगा भाई, वो नेक्स्ट कौन खेल रहा है उसको. नेक्स्ट इज नील्स, या, एंड अर्जुन प्लेज अगेंस्ट, ओ भाई, डू यू नो हु अर्जुन प्लेज टुमारो.
एंड भाई दोनों के साथ ब्लैक है भाई के, मतलब that's kind of I think unfair, like not unfair, like unlucky pairing, yeah, for Arjun की दोनों के साथ ब्लैक है पहले दो राउंड.
Yeah, but it's fine. But last time actually Yagis defeated Arjun, yeah, in that Tata Steel. तो अर्जुन वो इसी साल हुआ था वो, तो अर्जुन विल बी लुकिंग टू टेक दैट रिवेंज अगेंस्ट द टर्किश यंगस्टर. मजा आएगा भाई उस मैच में बहुत.
Chat, do not miss tomorrow's game at any cost, because we could be seeing this youngster in action, जो आज तक के youngest ever 27 rated player, the youngest ever in history.
Throughout, I mean, Gukesh was pressing throughout. Gukesh ने एक blunder किया था, which Yagis did. Like I feel I was playing for winning against Gukesh like I feel like it was Gukesh who was pressing.
And Pakistan क्या हुआ था Dogmas का? I think it was a draw, क्या?
Draw.
I think it was a draw. I think it's a draw.
I think draw.
So like you get a good result, yeah. I mean overall 1.5 against the top
three
Indians.
Peter Leko said this, that people are talking about 2700 ratings and this and that, ke bhai youngest 2700 and all of that, and he said like that all of that does not matter at all. What matters is that a 14-year-old is able to have a +1 score or a plus score in a Tata Steel event. Because that is something we have never seen before. Like 14 साल का बच्चा एक प्लस स्कोर, एज इन चैट, अगर आपके 14 गेम्स हैं तो आपके 7 पॉइंट से ज़्यादा है, एज इन आपका ओवरऑल स्कोर 50% से ज़्यादा है. दैट इज़ अ प्लस स्कोर. इफ़ यू कैन डू दैट अगेंस्ट द बेस्ट ऑफ द बेस्ट इन द वर्ल्ड एट द एज ऑफ 14, that makes you the scariest chess player in the world.
Regardless, I think बहुत मजा आया कल के मैच में सहज भाई, and I think knowing Arjun, like knowing his preparation, it's not gonna be a game जहाँ पे he's gonna make drawish decisions, exchanging pieces. He's gonna go for the kill because he is technically still the stronger player, and if he wins tomorrow, he enters the world top 8 again. So huge stakes there as well. And Dogmas के लिए भी, it's gonna be a crazy game. What happens today might dictate his confidence tomorrow. And by the way, he's already drawn. We already have the second result of the day, and it is a draw between Jordan Van Forest and a Dogmas.
Oh, amazing. There it is. So basically, oh bhai, so after bishop e3, Jordan offered a draw to Yagiz and इसीलिए वो सोच रहा था 1 घंटे से.
नहीं नहीं भाई, we
That's
have
what
moves, we
happened.
have moves, we have moves, we
Do
have
we?
moves भाई. We
Ah,
have
okay,
lot
okay,
of moves
okay.
भाई.
I was thinking ऐसा कैसे possible? I don't think we looked at
Uh,
any of this. Okay, some. Ah, okay. Repetition. Sorry, chat. My bad on that. But I don't think we saw all of this. Yeah, it was
yeah, we didn't. But I think
looked
it
like a
came very
pretty
quickly.
simple, solid draw. But yeah.
Yeah. So, and I want to point out 98.9 accuracy by Jordan and 99.2 by Dogmas. So clearly, all close to a flawless game by the youngster, and it's going to be exciting to see him play Arjun tomorrow. And just two game pending hai. One is Andy Woodward against Nils Grandini. Just a 10-second look at that game. Sahej bhai, feels like White is just completely winning. At some point, I'm going to go f4. आपको मारना पड़ेगा, and then the past H pawn is gonna win me the game, and this should be elementary for a player like Andy Woodward.
Yeah, correct. The world puzzle battle champion, if I'm not mistaken, Tikubai.
Yeah.
And also, of course, lots of other accolades as well. Tata Steel, he has won as well now. Because he's going to be playing in the Masters section next year. So, Andy Woodward, I think, is going to be the next big name from the US. And then we have, of course, Magnus versus Arjun remaining. दो ही गेम remaining है, I think. ये मैच तो ड्रॉ ही लग रहा है, but Arjun सोच रहा है because he's thinking कि भाई wait करेंगे तो like can Arjun try to play for a win is what he's thinking.
I think he's making that assessment. Is there risk for me in this position, right? I think that's a good choice because risk hai, then maybe ishq hai, but लेकिन game में struggle कर सकते हैं सहज भाई. So I think he might even just take the safe call because we're not used to Magnus seeing classical. But the King D8, that's literally a draw offer. I feel that's like a nothing move. I feel.
By 20, this is insane. I think King D8 is like, okay, I know कि मेरे पास कुछ नहीं है यहाँ पे, but let's take a draw and let's go home. So what do you do? Knight c3 or what do you do? I mean, probably you're looking for some kind of a repetition here, yeah?
Yeah, I think you're hoping for something like, I don't know. I really don't want to play knight c3 because again, I have to calculate these lines, knight e3 and so on. So what does white do to repeat? Like rook c2 maybe? Just repeat
ठीक है,
rook c2,
pass कर दिया king d7 वापस.
King's rook c1 and you go for the draw, yeah? Because how does Magnus even push here? I'm not really
You
sure.
cannot. You just take a draw and you just go. भाई कुछ 30 मूव का रूल है. Actually 30 moves हो गई हैं यहाँ पे वैसे भी, but draw ऑफर कर सकते हैं ना 30 साल के बाद.
I'm not sure. I think I didn't check this specifically, but I think even if they have to draw,
कुछ opens में like कोई रूल नहीं होता. कुछ opens में 30 मूव का रूल होता है. कुछ
इसमें होगा because top line
होगा,
होगा. But I think maybe it's like Magnus. If he wants to repeat, he might not offer a draw. Yeah, he will just play rook c2 or something else and just offer automatically. Players are going to repeat because he understands King d8 is not really a move you play when you are pushing. I think it's just a pass move.
This could be a very interesting question to ask Magnus, that when was the last time someone offered him a draw? Because the reputation that Magnus has of not taking draws and continuing to push for like 7-8 hours for like each game, I'm sure एक point के बाद like players ने draw पूछना ही बंद कर दिया होगा ना कि क्या मतलब point ही क्या है.
एक स्टोरी मुझे याद है, एक वीडियो देखी थी मैंने टाटा स्टील इंडिया की जहाँ पे अनीश पूछते हैं मैग्नस को ड्रॉ एंड कार्लसन कहते हैं वो मुझे वो बियर बैसेस की याद आ गई भाई फॉर सम रीजन एंड देन ही जस्ट plays like a long game even in blitz or rapid whatever it was, and I think he even won that game. But regardless, like never will he accept a draw. And in fact at his peak, like मुझे वो game कभी नहीं भूल सकता. World Championship match against Vishy sir. Vishy repeats the position once. Of course he might not have repeated it twice, but Magnus needs a draw to clinch his first World Championship match. And he says no because he had the white pieces and had the slightly better position. He says no. ड्रॉ पे उसको वर्ल्ड चैंपियन बनने का मौका मिल रहा है, बट वो कहते हैं नहीं भाई गेम ड्रॉ नहीं है, आई फील आई एम बेटर, आई एम गोना पुश, एंड वो गेम ड्रॉ हुई बाद में, लेकिन किंग तक खेले हो भाई, किंग तक.
Aura है ना भाई, Aura is too big. By the way, I think we have a move. No, we actually don't have a move. I feel like here if Arjun offers a draw, he would take it though.
बट अर्जुन नहीं करेगा यार. अर्जुन आई थिंक नोज कि it's and also of course I think Arjun will gain 1 point out of this. That's the advantage of drawing against Magnus. 100 पे भी एक रेटिंग पॉइंट मिलता है भाई.
Sahaj, why does it feel like India isn't producing prodigies like Nihal, Prag, Gukesh anymore, even though the chess scene is. They are producing it for sure. I mean, chat, if you go on the जो FIDE की जो rating list होती है ना, you can go there and you can check for yourself. I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of news. It's just that India से इतने सारे players हैं कि I think even if you are like the best of the best, it's very hard for them to know. I mean, I remember like जब मेरी 2500 रेटिंग थी ना, जब मैं 15 साल का था, समथिंग लाइक दिस, सो एट द टाइम आई वाज लाइक टॉप 5 इन द लिस्ट और वट एवर. जो चेसबेस का जो वो था ना, जो फाउंडर, ही एक्चुअली पुल्ड मी असाइड एंड ही वाज लाइक, हु आर यू, लाइक हाउ डू आई नॉट नो यू. बिकॉज इंडिया में ऐसा ही होता है भाई. इट्स डिफिकल्ट यू नो, बिकॉज द टैलेंट इज सो मच, you know it can, you know, a lot, not everyone gets the limelight that they deserve in this sense.
Yeah.
Like you can see 2010 born Ajay Santosh Parvata Reddy. So he's 15 years old and he's almost a GM, 2500 player. That's a very, very big name. 2011, Ethan Vaz is there, 2011.
I can give an example. For example, like Edis Gurel, let's say he's 2650 at that age. If he was in India, for example, like he got strong invites, right? He got very, very strong invites, played well at the Grand Swiss as well. If he was in India, he would be India number 7, 8, I don't know. So the chances कि लोग उसको invite करेंगे is very low in any top event, because India में किसी को invite करो तो you have Gukesh, you have Arjun, Parag and so on. So if you're in some country जहाँ पे you are the best player, you might still get some invites. At least, for example, जैसे क्रोएशिया में टूर्नामेंट होता है तो इवान सारिच always plays GCT Croatia, right? He gets that opportunity every year because he's the strongest player there. So I feel like वो opportunity miss हो जाती है कई बार, and it's also tougher. You have you know, idols to look up to, and you have that ecosystem in your country जहाँ पे somebody's done it before, so it's easier for you. But also you sometimes don't get those opportunities which you might have if you're in some other country. So I think आएंगे वो लोग. We see Pranesh rising up the ranks. We do see like many players around the 2600 mark. But yeah,
I mean, I'm just looking at the top 100 list, and 100th player is 2400, by the way. And did you know this? India में the 100th player is 2400. And that is ridiculous.
Not a surprise actually.
How is,
Not
bhai,
even a
in
surprise.
most countries like 2400 would be like top 20, top 30, something like this. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this list and I'm seeing a bunch of names who are 2000. Gautam Krishna is 2433, for example. That's a name we've been saying a lot. Jake Shanti is another one, 2011 born. The key is look for players who are 2010 and later, and then whoever is above 2400. Those are the talents you need to watch, because yes, true, they are not 2600 yet, but वो generation अभी Pranesh की है. Like Pranesh is gonna, like, you know, dominate. Like अभी निहाल कर रहा है, फिर Pranesh करेगा, फिर उसके बाद, you know, I don't think we are really that far off when it comes to you know, having a young talent.
Agreed. And by the chat, knight c3 after a 3.5 minute think played by Magnus Carlsen. So rook e1 would be on the cards here. Saj bhai, are we gonna, you know, allow rook e1, or do we have a way of avoiding it? Like, does it change the position anyway? अगर rook straight हो जाए तो?
Draw, मतलब, yeah, no, in the sense that अभी भी draw है, तब भी draw थी. So not really. I don't think so. At least king d7 would just be very logical to me. But okay, I'm guessing.
Like rook e3, for example. Like, I just avoid rook e1. I don't even want to do.
I mean, I'm sure you can play it, but it's like players are just moving pieces. Yeah, not really. You are attacking the knight. I defend the knight. Okay, then what? Then maybe you play king d7 and white फिर से सोचेगा, and rook d2, king d. I mean, not really much to do.
Forget the position. एक से इनके लिए सिर्फ players को देखो. Go full screen. Look at the players. लग रहा है कोई 27 मूव का क्वीन सैक्रिफाइस सोच रहा है मैग्नस.
भाई मतलब देख तो ऐसे कर रहे हैं जैसे कि पूरी चेस सॉल्व हो रही है. लाइक लिटरली नथिंग इज हैपनिंग.
भाई कुछ तो सोच रहा होगा मैग्नस यार. लाइक इतना डेप्थ में सर पकड़ के बैठा है. लाइक इट्स लाइक ही इज प्लानिंग अ क्वीन सैक्रिफाइस जो क्वीन बोर्ड पे है भी नहीं. Very interesting moment. What's your thoughts on the Soul announcement? What's the announcement? I think Pranesh they had got in their team. Is that the announcement you're talking about? Because बहुत सारे announcements है. I also saw like Godlike ने उसको hands को ले लिया अपने उसमें. So बहुत सारे announcements चल रहे हैं चाहे TWC के लिए. Lukesh will drop 2600 soon. कह रहे हैं मिस्टर महाजी. अरे भाई यार कैसी बातें करते हैं यार. मुकेश अभी देखो क्या राइज करेगा मस्त. वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप के टाइम पे रेडी होगा भाई
ये
वो,
सही है,
सुंदर।
वो कह रहे 26 वो क्लासिकल खेल ही नहीं रहा है लोग।
Quick review for the games. By the way, 2 games have ended as we discussed, and the तीसरी game है वो already is completely winning for one guy. So 4 ही game है chat, and this is the one which is still kind of on. I would say कि technically not on, but Magnus. By the way, Magnus पानी लेके आया है भाई. I mean, not the sign of somebody who's about to take a draw, Sahaj bhai. This is psychological pressure.
Or maybe he's just thirsty. Like
But पी
here,
नहीं रहा है.
I will be on your side, Tiku bhai. You know this, but okay, not here. Yeah, come on.
भाई but पी नहीं रहा है. He got
अरे
the
भाई,
glass,
come on.
kept it on the table भाई.
If this works out, I will be shocked भाई. ये तो मैं ये भी नहीं बोलूँगा कि यार मान जाऊँगा गोट भाई, मतलब आई वो तो मैं ऑलरेडी मान चुका हूँ, बट लेकिन नॉट दिस भाई, दिस इज टू मच.
You know, I have said this a couple of times before, but मुझे अब तक वो गेम याद है. Carlsen against Jabov. I think Daniel King was commentating. I was watching some commentary. I don't remember कहाँ पे देख रहा था मैं. And he was saying, I think he and Maurice actually, or I don't know, somebody else with Daniel King. They were saying, क्यों खेल रहा है यार Carlsen यार? There is no way Rajabov can lose this. Like not in a million years. Like even one commentator said कि this is insulting towards the other player. Like भाई वो बंदा खेल रहा है. Like Carlsen is still playing. I was like क्या चल रहा है भाई? सुबह कॉलेज जाना है, सोता हूँ. मैं सो गया. सुबह उठा Magnus won. I was like, that's the day I woke up to the Magnus magic. समझ लो, like that's the first time I realized कि भाई this guy is a bit different. So but yeah, I agree with you. I'm in the same boat. Like, would be hard to imagine Magnus winning this. But इकलौता बंदा है जिसके सामने अगर आप इस पोजीशन में बैठे हो तो एक पसीने की बूंद नेक के पीछे से जाती है सहज भाई. You know,
बट
you feel that.
I'll just say कि अगर मैग्नस ये ब्लैक से खेल रहा होता तो शायद मैं ज्यादा डर रहा होता यहाँ पे. Like chat, will you agree with me on this? Magnus with black, okay, like if you're playing this as white, you're thinking okay कुछ sack miss हो सकता है, but white से I'm not so sure. Like what can you okay, क्या कर लो, A6 भी खेल दिया ना आपने, क्या अचीव कर लोगे आप?
That's a fair assessment. I think black के पास जितने chances है, but डर तो तब भी लगता है भाई because Magnus है. But okay, I mean let's see. पानी खत्म होता है कि glass as it is रहेगा. I just hope Arjun doesn't try to force a draw somehow. That would be the biggest trap, I think. Just keep playing what you're doing. There's nothing, as you mentioned, do nothing, yeah? The best philosophy.
Yeah, the art of doing nothing. I'm pretty sure there's like lots of books written on this. It's a very, very, I think, nice and maybe one of the most important concepts to understand and yeah, to understand well.
बुक क्या भाई, मेरी लाइफ है भाई. द आर्ट ऑफ डूइंग नथिंग बाय द वे. बट ओके, अर्जुन अबाउट टू प्ले.
टिक्कू भाई की लाइफ स्टडी करो, आप चेस अच्छा अपने आप खेलने लग जाओगे.
Oh, by the way, look at this. He plays 93, basically like offering a repetition, right? Because attacking the c4 pawn and 91, 95.
Knight d1 no, Knight d1, Knight f1, Knight c3 भाई ड्रॉ, लो कर लिया ड्रॉ फिर.
Okay, Sahaj bhai chat. Does Carlsen play knight d1 and kind of say yes to the repetition? Yes or no? Come on, let's go.
I think Magnus will go. I think because it's the first round and he hasn't played classical in such a long time, I mean, I feel like he's gonna take the draw. Also, position looks extremely dead to me. इंडियन कमेंटेटर अच्छे से नहीं बात कर रहा भाई, वो दोनों ही इंडियन है भाई, समझा नहीं?
मैं मेरी बात कर रहा हूँ. I think
क्या है ये, क्या इंडियन कमेंटेटर तो दोनों को अपने सेपरेट, दोनों इंडियन है भाई, तो दोनों की बेइज्जती है, ये कैसा लॉजिक हुआ भाई?
भाई पता है क्या होता है, some people are just born idiots bro. वो हम मैं तो वही हूँ, तो चेंज नहीं हो सकते भाई. We have to stay true to movie यार. But by the way,
ऋषि सर से कॉम्प्लीमेंट लेने के बाद ऐसे बातें तो मत करो भाई. आप
भाई बैलेंस भी तो करना है ना भाई थोड़ा बहुत. वरना कल से हवा में उड़ लूंगा, आ जाऊंगा अपनी फिर ओपनिंग पे दिखा लूंगा भाई. वी ऑन मूव नंबर 9 वी शुड प्ले नाइट टू जीएच.
Who is Magnus and why should we be afraid? भाई गूगल है आपके पास, आई थिंक सबके पास है. जरा 2 शब्द डाल दो गूगल में, आपको समझ आ जाएगा
भाई. आई फील लाइक दोनों प्लेयर्स को एक टूथब्रश गिफ्ट करो एंड लेट्स जस्ट मूव ऑन विद द गेम. ड्रॉ इज ओके, आई थिंक.
Yeah, for sure. Sahaj, are you going for 2600 rating or what will it take for you to get there? I mean, I am not like, let's say, actively pursuing 2600 ki rating, because then I would be, playing tournaments and working on my chess as opposed to doing commentary or doing coaching and all of those other things. But I'll tell you that I think 2600 is a very unrealistic goal right now because I'm not close to it. Like I for before that I have some smaller goals. Like for example, I want to break my peak rating. So that's something I'm still working on, and I think when I do break the peak rating, then I can think about bigger goals like that. But right now, it's just pointless. इतना दूर है मतलब 100 point का difference in this is gonna take like at least a couple of months of rigorous training with a coach and then playing the right type of events, which is a lot of time and energy for any chess player.
And a lot of money also, by the way. Let's
Exactly,
not
exactly.
forget
I mean,
that.
Europe में रह के okay, I guess you're spending less because you're not
हाँ,
really traveling for
traveling.
flights and you don't really have to worry about accommodation. In my case, because okay, you can stay at a friend's place, you can stay at an Airbnb, but for from India it's very difficult because आपको वो एक वो hotel करना होता है. It's very
Agreed.
difficult. So
But yeah, I mean, Sajma did win the last tournament he played. So धीरे रखे भाई. Maybe we can get to that.
Aku baru cobain dan ternyata benar. Easy Cash kasih kesempatan pinjam tanpa bunga. Cuma dengan balikin uangnya di
धीरे रखे path forward. And the path forward from Magnus is also slow and steady क्योंकि आराम से वो knight d1 पे रख दीजिए because he did look at his score sheet. That's usually a sign कि player is about to take that draw वाला call. Like you look at the score sheet कि भाई okay, कितने moves हुए हैं, कितनी बार repeat हो चुकी है position. So this is the moment जहाँ पे knight to d1 would be Magnus saying भाई चलो draw करते हैं, घर चलते हैं. Anything else is a straight claim I want to play on. So अर्जुन को पता होगा कार्लसन के दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है एटलीस्ट.
भाई 10 मिनट हैं पड़े हैं उसके पास. I mean, I don't think he's gonna go for it. If he does, like, I mean, I would be shocked because how did he get the motivation to play this? Yeah, because he was just in holiday mode. वो जो iPad से tournament खेल रहा था वो, and okay, he just became a father, just got married. All of these things, like, doesn't speak like ये मुझे tournament जीतना है, ये like कुछ भी करके हर game मुझे जीतना है. I mean, yeah, tournament तो जीतना ही होगा मैग्नस को, but हर game जीतना है, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Is there a way white can allow knight takes c4? I don't think so. If you allow knight takes c4, I think that's just a free pawn. Don't see any counterplay you can create. I mean, in that meanwhile, for now at least. So I think you don't really want to give the c4 pawn because c4 gaya, then b5, d5 become weak, and suddenly you could be in a situation जहाँ पे black has 4 connected passed pawns and आप sitting duck की तरह बैठे हो. So it's like the root of the pawn chain, right? So you don't want to give the c4 pawn away, I think. And Magnus about to take that final call. Wow. Magnus Carlsen, first game after his first game in 2026, by the way, first classical game of the year for Magnus Carlsen. It's against Arjun, and he's likely going to hold a comfortable draw. Good news.
Yeah, very very nice I think. But Magnus right now deciding के कैसे खेले, but body language से लग तो नहीं रहा कि वो खेल रहा है. But okay, Magnus I think is a particularly very difficult guy to read from his body language I think.
Please tell about knight to e4. If Magnus plays knight to e4, I think that
I was
looks
looking
like a
at this,
mistake.
but there is takes and knight takes g3 is happening. ये knight e4 कुछ moves पहले काम कर रहा था. But आपका pawn h कभी तो कर रहा था जब rook h8 पे था, then you didn't have this discovered check. But even if without the knights it's still equal, even with the knights it's still equal, even without the rooks. The only way Arjun Magnus wins this is some sacrifice, some blunder if Arjun makes in time pressure, which feels very unlikely because Magnus के पास 10 मिनट कम है.
Yeah, Magnus, I think time cannot be of help here. अगर clock reversed होती, maybe he could think about it. But in this situation, I mean, he's been thinking for a while though. I think 6 minutes. So maybe this is the crucial moment, chat, and a draw for Arjun would be amazing with the black pieces. Like ask anybody in the world, draw with black against Magnus, an amazing result.
Yeah, absolutely. Chat में someone's asking, why did Kasparov say the Magnus will come back if Sindarov wins the world championship? Why does it matter? Does he think that Gukesh is not good enough to challenge even if he beats Sindarov? I'm not sure if Magnus said this.
I'm not sure if Kasparov said that actually.
I'm not
I've
sure
not
if
heard
Kasparov
this.
has said this. I would be shocked if Magnus comes back or Kasparov comments about that. I could be wrong. But no, to answer your question, I don't think anybody disrespects anyone. I think there is underlying respect for every world champion, which should be there, yeah, because you played the best, you beat the best, and that's the end of it.
And even if he did say it, or something like that is ever said, I think it's dependent on Sindarov's recent performance. Like, if Sindarov played like this for the next 2 years, like crushed Mukesh and kept going like this, will
Try like
Magnus
10
be
years, bhai.
tempted? Ha, like let's say 2 years move from
Magnus
now.
never
Let's
had a
let's
day off. I'm
ha, let's
sorry.
say two
There was
years
no
he
day off.
continues. Then Magnus could be tempted to say, "Ki I do want to test myself against Sindarov." That's
Oh, apparently
still
a
I
lot of
don't
people in the
think.
chat saying he said it, yeah?
Interesting. But I still don't think Magnus will do it in a world championship match because the format is not something he likes, right? So he might be tempted to test himself against Sindarov and see
But-
Sindarov is, as good as the people say, for example. But I don't think he'll be coming back to the world championship. Very, very unlikely.
Like, just trying to connect some dots here, because today, just now in the first hour of commentary, we had Vishy sir with us and we asked him, like, what does he think of things Sindarov and stuff? And he actually said that it reminds him of the younger him. Like, Sindarov reminded him of Vishy sir when he was younger. So maybe like there is some, like, I don't know, maybe it's the type of dynamic chess that he's playing that impresses Kasparov and
Yeah.
Vishy in this sense. I mean, that's a massive compliment, I think, to give to anyone. So that could be, I think, the reason. But I seriously doubt if Magnus is going to come back by.
Agreed. And again, if Magnus is really interested in playing Sindarov, if he were to dominate for the next year or two, I'm sure like there'll be many people who will be ready to organize that match with a bigger prize fund even than the World Championship. So I don't think अगर होना होगा तो हो जाएगा, but I don't think World Championship में Magnus World Championship खेलने के लिए पहले Carlsen को कुछ candidates खेलना है, or he has to play 40 games to qualify via the rating spot, which I don't think even exists now. So it's harder because it's not a direct match in the World Championship for him against anybody. So he's not going to play the candidates, for example. I don't think so.
नाइस. पूछ रहे हैं चैट में जीएम और अंग्रेज कैसे बन गए. भाई वैसे ही भाई जैसे आप अनटाइटल्ड और इंडियन बने. I'm just kidding. But yeah, we have 93 by repetition. ले लो भाई. 91.
5 मिनट है. I would even want Magnus to not take the repetition now to some extent. अंदर से वो लड्डू फूट रहा है कि he could make a mistake in time pressure. Like he's human after all. We saw him blunder, by the way, against Duda, Sehaj Bhai under time pressure, right? He blundered like I don't know, कुछ आ गया था, queen takes e1 something.
हाँ, I
like.
remember. तभी तो मैं कह रहा हूँ Magnus was looking very inconsistent भाई. Thoughts on Ding Liren playing? भाई spam मत करिए please. But thoughts on Ding Liren? I think it's a great thing that Ding is coming back. I saw the games as well. Looked very exciting chess and looked like a little bit like the old Ding. So hoping that he's in a better place, and he definitely deserves to be in top 10, top 5 at least even. मजा आएगा भाई if he's back. And I think hinted that Ding could be back for Olympiad, for candidates, and all of those things as well.
I think he's not played much after the World Championship, so वो जब pressure उठ गया ना shoulders से, he will definitely play better than what he played earlier, 100%. So even if he has some health issues, so let's see how it goes. Sahil should bid for World Championship host in his home. बिल्कुल भाई, मेरा budget $10 का है. If Fide is interested, they can let me know. But हो सकता है घर में 2 ही लोग हैं. We can put up cameras in every corner, so possible तो है भाई. But yeah, let's see which countries happen. I think Max about to play. Let's go full screen. About to play a move, crucial move in this game. Will he go knight d1, take the repetition with less than 4 minutes on his clock now? He does repeat. Wow. भाई अर्जुन में जज्बा तो है भाई.
Let's go. अर्जुन खुद मना कर दे. Take on d1.
I was literally thinking
नहीं
for
चाहिए
that.
ड्रा. भाई अब मारो knight takes d5. Let's go. Attack.
Okay. Let's go full screen. By the way, the final moments of this game likely about to end. Position repeat हो चुकी है एक बार. Knight c3 played. Knight e3. Knight d1 would be an instant draw. Sehaj Bhai very close to a draw now.
I mean, no chance I think anyone is playing for a win, but make it. Okay, he just plays knight e3. Tablash incoming.
Yep. इस बार तबलास तोड़ा नहीं, इधर तबलास ले लिया माग्नस कार्लसन जी ने. Knight to d1 is the move, and that would be a repetition and a draw. A good result for Arjun, who honestly was under some pressure, but आराम से उन्होंने neutralize कर लिया कार्लसन का pressure, and he should go back a happy guy at the end of this day. And
भाई अभी भी खत्म नहीं हुआ है. एक और मूव बची है अभी भी मैग्नस
हाँ.
की. Like there is one more move, knight d1, which should be a draw, and I'm guessing that's it.
Why the toothbrushes, bro? Bro, it's a reminder for all of us to brush our teeth and... Oh, okay. About to play. It's going to be a draw. But he's not claiming it. Very interesting. But is he playing on? Why? He could be playing on because he technically you stop the clock and call the arbiter, right?
भाई मैगनस है, क्लॉक खुद ही रुकेगी भाई उसके लिए.
Possible.
अपने आप रुक जाए. आर्बिटर वेट ही कर रहा होगा भाई कब बोल रहा है मैग्नस. नहीं मैं कर देता हूँ ड्रॉप.
I mean, he should take the draw. He has no time on the clock. This could be a risky proposition, yeah, for Magnus if he plays on. ये बोर्ड पे रेड मत रखो. We'll try to change the color for tomorrow chat. आज तो अभी हिलाते नहीं. Oh! Magnus Carlsen plays on. No draw, bhai. No draw. Okay, Sahaj, bhai, that is an impressive decision.
I mean, yes, but also not really. Yeah, I think knight f5, and I still don't see a way for him to play on.
No, agreed. But still, the fact that he plays on is impressive. Just the fact that like आप एवरेस्ट चलने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, आप नहीं चढ़ पाए, बीच में सांस सबकी अटक गई या it was tough. आपने कोशिश किया भाई. Like that itself is like crazy to me. Like he plays on.
Or maybe it's just a cycle. I mean, अगर Arjun just goes knight f5 in this position, like how do you not play knight d3? That would just be a repetition again, no?
Agreed. By the way, he went knight f5. Already done.
Oh, he played it, yeah?
Nice. Yeah, he played. I think video थोड़ा सा कुछ 4-5 सेकंड डिले में है मूव से, तो knight f5 played. Now knight d3 again would be a draw for instant draw.
मतलब he's just मतलब ख्यालों के साथ खेल रहा है basically अर्जुन. ड्रॉ दिख रही है, मतलब नजर में है, बट लेकिन वो बस बोर्ड की तरफ देखे जा रहा है.
I want to just highlight one of the best moves that my engine is saying is knight to b1. Knight b1 और b2 पे रख के भाई.
Breer's idea, chat. Remember Breer's idea, knight b1 idea. Reroute it. It's a bad piece.
Crazy bhai. And you still can't go rook e1 by the way, chat, because it's very crucial. I think that's why Magnus kind of played this move. Key, if Arjun does not play knight f5, I can potentially at some point play rook e1 because g3 pawn hanging नहीं होगा. So instantly knight f5 खेल के हमने फिर से वो g3 pawn अपनी चंगुल में रखा हुआ है. So you can't again play rook e1. So there is literally no way for Magnus to progress with the knight f5 pair.
Yeah, exactly. There is no g4, and also Magnus has only 2 minutes on the. By wo, matlab, it looks scary, no? 5 more moves to be played, and he just cannot see a plan forward.
Yep. मिस्टर पॉल जी को 200 साल का बैन दे देते हैं पहले एक बार, तो थोड़ा मजा आता है यार.
कोशिश तो किया भाई, वो 24 घंटे से ऊपर गया नहीं हो.
ओह शिट, यूट्यूब
देख रहा था मैं भाई, कोई तरीका मिले.
By the way, is he perhaps he's about to play, huh? Come on. Let's see Magnus if he's still gonna push. By the way, 2 minutes for him to play 5 moves, so he must be getting a bit nervous. I mean, he's not played classical chess for a long time, so the time pressure might hit him a bit harder than the other players. You can see him slightly the disappointed look. Yeah, I think he senses Sahaj bhai he was better and he missed it somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Magnus को अब तो ड्रॉ कर देना चाहिए भाई. knight d3 के बाद सीधा ड्रॉ है, राइट? 3-fold है.
Yes, he can just stop the clock, call the arbiter and claim a draw.
Just do it भाई. My question, अगर Magnus ने knight d3 खेला without claiming the draw, do you think Arjun plays knight e3 and calls the arbiter and takes the draw?
Yes. I
don't think
Arjun
so.
will.
Because
Really?
I think that's too much. I think then वो player भी सोचेगा भाई इतना पहले मना भी कर रहे हो, फिर अब claim भी नहीं कर रहे हो आप.
No, I think Arjun just plays knight e3. He will not claim. He'll just play knight e3. He'll say कि भाई खेलना खेलो. Like, okay, by the way, Magnus is looking at the score sheet, I think he's looking at the score sheet. That's a sign he's about to take a draw. 1 minute for Magnus, by the way, to play 5 moves. This is the time when you claim a draw, Sahaj bhai. This is the time when it could go wrong for Magnus.
भाई एक ही मिनट, 5 चालें और खेलनी है मैग्नस को. पता चले आधे घंटे का इंक्रीमेंट भी नहीं है भाई. यू हैव टू बी केयरफुल.
Bhai, draw. Take the draw, Magnus. Oh, he's still playing a move. He's not claiming a draw. Very interesting detail.
57 seconds.
Oh, he plays knight e3. Okay, it's technically repeated twice.
So he doesn't wait. So he does the exact same thing. And now the question is, does Arjun, because Magnus did not offer a draw just now. If Arjun knight e3, if he plays now, then he can claim the draw, but then वो एक psychological disadvantage आ जाता है, नहीं? Because आपका opponent नहीं चाहता draw करना, and then you're still making a draw with them.
So,
like you understand what I mean, right? That puts you in a bad psychological space.
Agree. Basically, Arjun can stop the clock right now and claim a draw with 93. He can do it right now.
घड़ी की तरफ देख, देखो स्कोर शीट की तरफ देख रहा है वो. He's checking if it's 3. वो खुद भी वही सोच रहा है अर्जुन. उसको पता है करना तो चाहिए, but इज्जत पे बात है. वो 3 बारी वो ड्रॉ कर सकता था, उसने नहीं किया, तो मैं क्यों करूँगा?
सिंपल तरीका ये है कि आपने किसी को डेट पे पूछा, उन्होंने आपको सीन पे छोड़ दिया, एंड वो 2 दिन आपको बोल रहे हैं कि चलना है क्या डेट पे. नाउ यू आर लाइक, भाई तुमने 2 दिन मुझे सीन पे छोड़ा है, लाइक डू आई वांट टू रिप्लाई, आई स्टिल वांट टू गो, बट आई एम लाइक, एक थोड़ी इज्जत बात आ गई सहज में, वैसी फीलिंग आ रही है मुझे.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल इज्जत पे तो बात है भाई, मतलब कर सकता है वो ड्रॉ. भाई जस्ट ऑफर्स अ ड्रॉ. भाई उसने ड्रॉ पूछ ही लिया भाई.
अर्जुन इज स्वीट, तो उसने ड्रॉ कर लिया.
बुलाना है क्या? कहता नहीं. Nice.
चलो भाई.
Nice game.
Okay,
and
so
by the way,
claiming a draw. हाँ.
जितने लोग पूछ रहे हैं what kind of mental games this is, chat, this is nothing. Like I would, if you are interested in this and if you really want to do some research, and if you want we can talk about it tomorrow as well, like look up what happened, the amount of things that happened between the Karpov and Korchnoi match. Just Google this and look at the different incidents that happened in those matches. आपका दिमाग हिल जाएगा भाई. The people used to do these things so often.
Yeah. So interesting detail there, and of course we see both the players kind of calculate the moves, analyze where they could have pushed, and of course DC5 was that move jahan pe Magnus pushed the pawn. He should have taken it and would have given him more opportunities. Yeah, he's talking about the C5 pawn, by the way. That's the pawn he's talking about, Sajbhai, right? I think B6 or C5.
Yeah.
Which one?
He was pointing at the pawn on C5. That was the move on move 22, I believe, where he pushed the pawn instead of capturing it. And since then, Arjun just did not give a chance. Yep, that's the moment. Pawn takes C5 had to be played. He played D5 instead, and it was just equal from there.
Yeah. Wow, what a game.
I think good start for India number 1, I would say overall. I think he remains India number 1, of course, and he's very, very close to being top 10 in the world as well. Only one rating point away. And let's see what happens.
I think simple point to put is Nodrbek is the guy who won today's game. And, by the way, Andy Woodward is also about to win, but Arjun drew. But who do you think is happier, Nodrbek or Arjun? Like maybe Arjun is happier, yeah? Because you draw against Magnus. Like that's always has some extra, impact and extra gives you confidence also.
For sure. Yeah. I think, both wins are very, very important, but देखो भाई, let's be real, इन दोनों में से खुश तो अभी कोई भी नहीं है.
True. The game wasn't really, crazy exciting, but it was a game जहाँ पे Magnus did show some of the signs, some of the techniques, right? Just say he squeezes water out of a stone traditionally, but he just couldn't convert it. I think he had that opportunity, and maybe a Magnus who had more practice in classical chess would have played DC5, but he took a decision based on intuition, and it wasn't the correct one. And they're still analyzing. But a good result for Arjun, by the way, Chad, who draws against the god of chess. And I think that's basically the end of day 1, because I think one look at the Andy Woodward game, it's about to end very soon. I think
it's dead winning, basically.
Yeah. So I think this is going to be an easy victory. So Sahaj, by all 4 games done, if you go back to Magnus's camera once and the game, I think if you can show that moment, jahan pe Magnus had the opportunity, that was D takes C5. I think that's where maybe he missed, and he could have really put Arjun under a lot of pressure.